Good morning, mushroom friends and family. How are you guys doing today? Well, thanks for stopping by. My name is MycoAlan. We have a special guest today, Dr. Edward Grant from he's got a spore swap site with some stuff, and he does tons of great videos and lives for everybody to learn from. We're going to have a chat with him today, and have any questions or anything, please feel free to post them in the comments. Good morning, Pacers. Good morning, Mushroom Farmers Guild. Good morning, Adam. Wait a couple minutes to get a few people in here. We got a few people already. But yeah, if you have any questions for myself or for Ed, feel free to type them in the comments and we'll get to them as best we can. I'm sure Ed knows most of the stuff that I don't know. I'm actually pretty much guaranteeing that. But anyways, let's bring it onto the screen here and we'll just start by having a small conversation.
Hello. Hello. Oh, man.
Not like everyone's just talking for 5 minutes. Nice to see you. But
how's it going, man? I was just trying to copy the thing and send it to somebody. Copy the link. I think I did it. So,
yeah, no, I talked to Justin this morning. It's good. It's good. I talked to Justin because I was going to try to get a bunch of people on here. You, Justin, Wayne, a couple other people. But apparently Justin's driving from somewhere and nobody can has heard from Wayne. Don't know what happened to him. So I hope he's okay. But
I haven't heard from him for a little while either. I didn't even think about that. Ooh.
I sent him a couple messages around the 10th. Last I talked to him was on the 8th, and I sent him a couple messages, but I haven't heard from him. So I sent some word out to a couple of people that have his phone number to send him a hi, how you doing? Are you okay? But yeah, so we got glad to have you.
It's good to be here, man. It's kind of nice. It's like midnight here. It's nice middle of the night. I'm always thinking like, I kind of get lonely, and I did all my myco stuff already today, so it's kind of like I want to talk to somebody about mushrooms. Or just life in general.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what to call that, and I just came home and I was thinking maybe I could call it like a Frankenstein dikaryon, like reconstituting a bunch of monos into a dikaryon. I do that quite frequently actually, because a lot of times I try to either from a grab and drag, and I'll just put all the monos or what may or may not be monos, and I just put them all back together, because I find that sometimes a nice little rhizo will shoot out. And sometimes when you do like multi-spores and you just throw a chunk on a new plate, it looks like crap, kinda. So I feel like sometimes maybe if you let them all do their mashy thing, maybe a couple buller phenomena thing going on in there. And I figure that like maybe if you're looking for like the strongest dikaryon or whatever, it's kind of a nice way to you just see one of them shoot out. That's obviously like gonna be the rhizo, nice thick rhizo, and it's like maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't, but it's nice to see that thick rhizo growth.
Well, I did the same.
You notice from a lot of
grab and drag plates that I had a bunch of small colonies, and I was like, well, why not put them on a plate and make a T0? So yeah, I love it. It's a good video.
Yeah. It's like a T.5 or something. It's like halfway between a T0 and a T1. It's like, I don't know if I want to call it a T0 anymore, but so I normally write like T0 MS and then I'll write a T1 MS, but I keep the MS so I can remember that it came. So if it looks funny in the T1, like I can remember like, oh, it looks kind of funny. It's not all one uniform colony because it's from spores. Because I gotta, sometimes I deal with so many spores that I gotta remember. It's hard to remember, Like I'll have a clone from my Louis Vuitton from the last fruit, but then I'll also have like swabs that I made, and then it's like just to help me make sure I remember. Oh, this is the one that came from spores, so it looks kind of funny still. Like might be sectoring a little bit, or something like that.
Well, I know several of the swabs I got in the mail from you. I got on grain already. I put some zeros onto grain, so I got a couple of them growing nice. I got that thick halo and the Tylip AI. Those are both on grain already. They're growing strong.
Cool. Yeah, I got high hopes for that thick halo, man. That Melmac TP and the golden halo. Somebody I hope is gonna pull out like a Melmac pheno with golden spores. That would be cool, man. Like, because I've had Golden Halo and my same
Huh.
isolate. I've
Yeah.
had several isolates of Golden Halo, and some of them have just dark spores. And I also had one that was like kind
Yeah.
of one run. It seemed like it was going to be sporeless or whatever. And then it eventually darkened up the gills. But, the classic Golden Halo, it's because the spore color, right? That's why they call it Golden Halo. But I have the same isolate, or I've got several isolates, and some of them are just dark spores. So it's like really normal dark black spores. That one was so the mono that I used, the Golden Halo mono, came from a golden spore. In fact, I think I have one sitting right here. And it's yeah, oh yeah, here. So here's the Golden Halo like normal spore color. Well, that's the namesake, Golden Halo.
Yep.
So you might be able to see it better on a if you compare. So here would be like I've got a couple of them. Like so here's like the normal dark spore color, on your right or left, I don't know. So then that's the kind of
Yep.
golden color. So I'm hoping somebody will be able to pull off. Yeah, so this was I crossed a golden halo with taupe also. I don't know which way the camera is, but golden halo and taupe, and that was dark spores. So I'm
Huh.
hoping there's the straight up golden halo. So I'm hoping somebody can pull something out of there that's gonna have the golden spore color, but it's gonna have that Melmac phenotype. That would be the ideal situation from that little experiment. So I always have to have some kind of motivation for this. Yeah, I know what you're trying to get it bigger, right?
Oh,
So
seriously.
there's the here I did it on white paper. So I even like I got fancy and I did it on white paper so you could see the spore color better. Like a lot of times when you do it on aluminum foil, like you can't really, the aluminum foil. So I actually made a spore
Yeah.
print on like white paper to like emphasize. This is actually a cool thing to illustrate when you do like spore prints from wild mushrooms. If you're trying to identify them, you have to do them on white paper. You got to do your spore prints on white paper because all of the books are going to refer to the spore color, but it's going to be specifically like sometimes the difference between like olive and green and like light green, it can be quite important. Like certain, especially like some of the like
Yeah.
pleurotus, people always say, oh, pleurotus has white spores. Some pleurotus have like oyster mushrooms. Some have like a very, very light pink spore color, but you will not see it unless you have number one, enough spores there so you can see the density of the color. They just got to kind of be stacked up on each other. And also, you won't see it if it's on like some off white. Like if you tried looking for a pink color on like, say, oh, I don't know, like yellow or something in the cup paper, like you wouldn't see it. So they used to make these like little pads that were actually like little post-it note pads that would be like half white and half black. Sorry, this is my like elephant one. But yeah, it would be just like a post-it note with like half white and half black, so you could see if it had light spores. Make sure there's no secret shit on there. It's one of my orders for my local
Get a marker and
customers.
color it.
Nobody. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can take just a black marker on the white paper. Yeah, somebody got the bright idea. One of the clubs in the back in the day, when people used to like do things on paper, they printed up these little post-it pads that were, I don't know, they were handing them out and had their little logo and stuff on them. So, like, used to go to these like medical. I used to
Oh,
work for a doctor,
you
so we
guy
would go
here.
to these medical things. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you got to tell me to shut up whenever I start running off at the mouth, dude.
What we got going on here today? Trying to, hey everybody, hey Joe, Sandy, Nerdy, Justin. Nice to see you, Justin. Still driving? Let's go down. I saw a question here somewhere. Trying to find it. Here we go. Here we go. Good morning, Nerdy. Let's see what your question is. Does the acidity of paper damage the spores in storage in the long run if I wanted to use them later? Does the acidity damage the spores from paper? I have no idea. Maybe what do you think?
I would never store spores on paper. The only reason I did this on paper was so you could see the color. I would never store spores on anything probably but aluminum foil or glass. Like people used to do glass slides, but glass slides are quite inconvenient. Like this is nice. You could put like I've got a box over there that's like a lunch box. It's got probably 1,000 spore prints in it. I like these little like Ziploc baggies and the aluminum foil. So what I do is I'll torch the aluminum foil too. I take my dab torch, my creme brulee torch, and I hold the foil with the tweezers, and I just kind of like just bake, kind of burn, not really burn. It'll melt like a dab torch will melt aluminum foil. So I just kind of like make sure it's nice and sterile on the surface. I have wondered about aluminum and the aluminum ions. Aluminum ions tend to inhibit all kinds of bacteria and they do weird things. But aluminum foil shouldn't really have any ions in it. But what I wonder about is when you're making a spore print, like you'll get a lot of the water. Like you can't really see it on here, but like where the water pooled up, yeah, you can kind of see like right there where you'll get like a section where the water is maybe like pooled. And I was worrying a little bit about maybe it was kind of like dissolving, like oxidizing and then dissolving some of the aluminum ions. And aluminum ions will inhibit all kinds of stuff. They also like cause Alzheimer's and all that. But people used to worry about roll-on deodorants and stuff, and they use like aluminum oxide, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
in them. But aluminum oxide and things like that, they're quite insoluble. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about the acidity because I wouldn't ever store spores on paper. Paper's dirty. If you've ever worked with spore prints on paper, if you scrape it off and look at the foil, there's so many particles of paper in there. Like you don't want to store spores on paper. Like not because of the acidity, just because you use aluminum foil. Yeah,
The
I
paper
wouldn't.
can absorb any moisture. Like,
Yeah, also that
you can get the
exactly. Yep.
dry the air
That
real
would be
quick.
another reason. Yep. If your paper
I had a
gets wet
question
and
for you.
then yeah, I wouldn't do that. Choose foil.
I had a question. I was watching. I was, that polysorbate or sodium polysac, whatever that's that gel stuff you're trying to experiment with.
Mm.
I had a thought. I was maybe you could use some of that in like a petri dish as an agar or as a media surface to grow mycelium on, kind of like in a new agar.
You maybe could. It would be probably pretty inconvenient though. If you got like so part of the problem is it's very like I don't know. If you want to make your life difficult, yeah, you could do that. But I'm not sure why you would.
Well, I was thinking you grow it substrate. Anyways, it's just a thought in the back of my
Yeah,
head.
yeah, I wouldn't because it's like because it's granules, so it's not gonna like it would be yeah, you'd be making your life way harder than it needs to be. And I don't know how you would infuse the polyacrylate with so polysorbate is the tween stuff. That's polysorbate. The sodium polyacrylate is the the Orbeez stuff, the water beads.
I don't know. Yeah,
Mm,
okay. I was just a thought in the back of my head because I saw like the magician used to take a cup of water with a little bit of that in them, and it would cause a
mhm,
solid gel form. I was thinking maybe that would be a
mm.
new way to try something. I don't know.
Could
Anyways,
I think it would not be
so I
worth it. Could use gelidium gum. They've got all these different kind of gels now that people have been talking about, like gelidium, gelan, and agar, and there's carrageenan and xanthan gum, and you can make plates out of cornstarch if you wanted to. Like cornstarch, if you treat it right, it'll gel up. And I mean, it's the way they make a lot of desserts and stuff like that. Like it'll gel up. But the problem, there's like everything's not Atlas. Quite simply, there's a reason why people use agar, gel, and gum. Like other people have had these ideas also. Like they've figured out microbiologists have been working with this stuff for like 120 years. They've figured all these things out already. like, like if somebody was gonna make a buck off like I don't know, something, they probably would have done it already. There's not a whole lot of novel ideas out there. I think a lot of times we because we're not exposed to them, we think maybe they're like a brand new thing, but somebody else has probably already thought about it. It's out there. Some food scientist somewhere is trying to make some, new fucking shelf stable crepe or what is these things called? Creme not what is this thing that like souffle, like they're trying to make some or some food scientist for Procter and Gamble's trying to make mayonnaise that, will not separate when it's 120 degrees outside or whatever. They figured out a lot of this shit already. The gellan gum is actually used in the food industry a lot. Because this has like no
Yeah.
taste to it. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. If you start going down that rabbit hole of like gelling, it's like things you can make that will gel and like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a deep hole. And the food scientists are, you can watch like 40-minute videos about how to make gravy. You think like, oh, just make
Yeah, I know.
gravy.
I've been watching
It's,
videos.
oh yeah, Thanksgiving. You guys got Thanksgiving coming up,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, gravy is like a very
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
intense like thing. If you get into it, like it's like a lot of stuff going on there.
I never got that
Ice
far in the
cream.
gravy, but
Oh, you
yeah,
probably might
I've been
not
getting
want
into
to leave it.
gummies for.
Like,
I've been making
oh,
candy
that's another
miniatures,
thing
so I've been trying
exactly.
to make gummies for that. So it's been kind of a fun little
So,
rabbit hole.
so somebody told me the other day that most of the gummies now they use like actual dried, like pulverized powdered fruit bodies and not extracts because mainly the shelf life. But also, you know, it messes with the recipe. But they were also saying that, like, I mean, you can stuff enough, like the gel of the, apparently the gel or the consistency of the gummies is better if you actually just use dried powdered fruit bodies,
I've done
like
that.
the X.
Yeah, that's what I've done
Yeah,
with my
that's,
cookies, my jellies, and my chocolates that I've infused with mushrooms. I just put fruit right into it, just powdered fruit, mix it with a little bit of cocoa butter,
mm,
and just seems to work just fine. The gummies
yeah, I
I didn't
messed
have a
around.
good, so that's why I'm looking them up because I used agar instead of gelatin because I didn't have gelatin, so I just wanted to make something, and they came out way too firm. So I got some gelatin this time.
Mm,
So,
yeah, you got to
yeah,
hit
so
that
that
mark because, right, the
yeah,
fruit body's going to absorb a lot of the water.
yeah. I know a
They were
friend.
saying also that the,
Sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
go
Yep.
ahead. They said the
Our
fruit
friend Nerdy
bodies were like, oh,
cooking stuff, a lot of different recipes. He makes marshmallows infused with mushrooms, chocolates, hard cheese, all kinds of cool stuff. They're excellent from what I've heard. But yeah,
mhm.
he's a cook into that stuff. He's got a whole recipe cookbook of stuff. So, but yeah,
Oh
so
yeah,
that's
they
fun.
actually have a book, isn't it? Some book like cooking with cubes or something like that.
That
There's a
and the
whole
seven
cookbook.
or something. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Something, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I imagine there is probably.
Yeah, he said
Yeah,
he's
it's
big
kind
into
of
that.
funny. I
He
was
runs
thinking
a
about maybe.
this guy Nerdy on our chat here. He runs a thing in Colorado. He's trying to put for it's called the Colorado Mycology League. Like that, and he's teaching people, doing events and stuff like that. He's actually doing quite a bit of good work with the community. So it's really nice to read his recipes and stuff. So kind of cool. A lot of fun people in this community if you get with the good people.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to remember, you run across a one asshole and you think that like it kind of puts you in a bad mood. Yeah, I had to deal with some asshole earlier today. It was like, wow, every couple days
Yeah.
there's one of them, you know. It's like, wow, everything. I mean, the vast majority of people are like nice and cool, but yeah, every once in a while there's some asshole. They're taking out their shitty problems in their life on you, and it's like, wow, like I wish you would have picked a different hobby. Can't you just like, I don't know, go do painkillers or something? Whatever the fuck people do.
Dinger. It's a bit dangerous. They talk too much.
They
Oh,
say
gosh.
again.
If they should pick up a hobby like sharpshooting or hunting, then if they're a real asshole, then whoever they're with.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I guess we don't have any questions, so I guess we can talk about whatever until people put some questions up.
Oh, I see you got one up there on the screen now. If you use a more potent genus, I've seen people just grind. Oh, not a question. If you just grind up a little
Okay.
into their hard candy, prefer extracts. Yeah, it seems like I think you can go you can get pretty deep into that cooking with kind of mushrooms thing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna. I kind of just like fresh fruit now because I usually got like some fresh fruit in my fridge. Like if I do like a harvest, I just put fruit in my fridge, just store them like with any other vegetable. So I always got like some fresh fruit laying in my fridge.
No, I'm going to show you guys my new tent. While we're looking, I got that Gorilla Grow tent set up, guys. I wanted to show you the.
Just while you're doing that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I forgot to go to the bathroom again before.
So, anyways, guys, I got the new tent set up here. I got the shelf in there. And I got a little heater down over there. I got some stuff growing up in here. One of my little trays of Louis Vuitton. Got one nice big fruit in the middle there. And some of the other trays we did, they're all up here. This is all a fruiting chamber. It's all at 90% humidity. This is the Luminous Lucy times Snape I did. I don't know if it's going to actually cross, but it's not a Snape, so we'll see. Looking good. And all those up there are starting to pin. And down here, these are all starting to pin. So they're doing a little more than pinning. Those are rooting like crazy. That black section here, I wanted to show somebody this was questioning something about contamination. Now, normally when you have a shoebox with some contamination, I just throw it away. But I went in here yesterday and there was a spot over here on this side where there's no growth. That was all contaminated. A little bit of green there. So what I did is I made about a 2 section around the green and pulled it out because I want the rest to try to fruit for a few more days. Because I don't want to waste all these little 2-inch fruits. So letting these continue. I pulled the contam out and put some peat moss that was covered with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or isopropyl just to keep it from spreading. I know the cake's going to die, but I want to try to get a few of the fruits out of it.
Did you ever try burning it? Oops. Like when I used to try to cut out my trichoderma when I haven't thankfully had it for a while. Have you tried burning it with a creme brulee torch? Like fry the shit out of this.
Yeah, I take this torch. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
I take this thing, I start to burn the shit out. The problem is I end up melting my shoe boxes.
Exactly. That's what I still have 2 mono tubs that got fucking melted on the side because of that. I don't know why I didn't think it was like near the edge, and I was like, oh. And then I realized later when I was washing, I'm like, oh, why is it? Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Drop the whole cake.
Luckily, they're fairly cheap, right?
I just dropped the cake on the floor and it just didn't break. It lived.
Oh, shit.
Boom.
Do people what? Is that the
blue? I don't know how I dropped it.
No, dude, what is up with people?
Bluey's nice.
People are always dropping. I see so many posts where people are like, I dropped my cake. Like I treat them like babies, man. Like I'd be more likely to drop a human baby than I would like one of my mushroom cakes. Sometimes when I'm pulling my shoe boxes out.
Dropping. Go ahead. Keep talking, Ed. I don't mind.
I just sometimes I'm so OCD. Like I'll be like holding something, taking it to the kitchen, and I'm just like my wrist will like lock up. I get like a cramp or something, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not dropping this fucking cake. like I'd probably get like stabbed, get fucking shiv in me, and I'd still be like holding onto the cake. You know, it's like kind of when you drink, like when I used to drink and you got like a beer in your hand at a party and you like fall down and shit, but you just like hit the ground, but your beer is still like level. You're just like, I didn't lose my beer. It's like, fuck, I just bashed the side of my face on the ground, but my beer is okay.
Oh, when I was young, I used to be like that. But now what happens to me is I can be holding something. I'll be holding a can of something, and then all of a sudden I'll look down and it's on the ground, but I still feel like I'm holding it. I have neuropathy, so I can't feel sometimes.
Oh.
Shit, not know it. So a lot of times with my mushrooms, I'll be holding them, and all of a sudden I'll look over and on the ground, I'll be like, oh, where'd it go? So I have to go careful.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I got lucky with that one. It just fell maybe a couple feet off the shelf. I knocked it over, but the cakes are colonized good. They don't break that much. Those little trays are working out good. They're just like little 5x5 trays, about 1.5 inch thick cakes,
Mm,
and 1 or 2 fruits out of them. That's all I want. I just want to see what they look like on a lot of those strains. So I just grow a small little thing,
mhm.
and then when I want fruit, I'll grow the shoeboxes of them. But I think I'm lowering my chances for diversity of different, even dicarions. I won't get many diverse culture or fruits from it because it's such a small amount of space to grow.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like when I was reconstitute, I think about like when we do our T0 plates and how much, like I think about how much of the agar I should use to make spawn. Like I tend to go sometimes on this smaller, like I'll use like an inch square sometimes to make a whole bag of spawn. And then maybe I'll use the same plate to make multiple bags of spawn. Like I'd love to take like one plate and chop it up into maybe like 6 bags. Like, back in the old day where people used to do the tiger drop thing, or they would put like the whole plate in there. I think that's overkill, man. You end up with so many agar chunks in there. And one of the genotypes is gonna probably take over. So I kind of like the idea of using smaller pieces of agar to inoculate the grain bag. And I also like the idea of making sure that my grain is actually sterile and that like even the smallest piece of agar can colonize the whole grain because the grain should be sterile, right? So it shouldn't really matter how much agar you put in there. Kind of like same idea with LC, you should be able to just squirt like 1 or 2 cc's, of your LC into a bag and if that doesn't colonize the bag successfully, it probably means there's something wrong with the bag.
No, absolutely. I have some.
Like this.
I had a question for you about LCs. Actually, now that you brought it up, the pellicle on top. See that chunk
Mhm,
there? Oh, nice pellicle,
mhm.
and there's nice mycelium in there, nice and clear. I noticed that the pellicle will break up. Now, can you use that to colonize grain? The actual pellicle, like the
Oh
thick.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh hell yeah, dude. It works really well. I mean, as long as it's not too old. Like you don't want
No,
like some 6 month old pellicle on there. But yeah, they make pellicles like really, really easily. Some of them, especially if you forget to stir them for a few days or weeks, maybe. Yeah, you just use the pellicle. Just throw the whole
so it's,
pellicle in there. It's like it's just basically like you should use it like same way you would like a piece of agar. You just throw the whole pellicle in there.
I know I can mix them up and it'll break up quite a bit. I mean, I use a
Mm-hmm.
16 gauge needle to pull it up because I like to send friends LCs. That's why I make them. I only make small, 200-300 milliliter jars just so that they're easy to use. I don't make a lot. I just make maybe, I don't know, however much you see in this little jar. It's only a 1 pint jar. I only put maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe a 3/4, 200, 240 milliliters in there just to send to
Mm-hmm.
people. But yeah, cool. I was just curious because I know you had mentioned something about pellicles or thickness and something
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah, that's a good
recon
point.
or redoing the
People,
LC with samples from it. Talking about some stuff.
hmm. People should, I think, kind of do the same thing as with grain spawn jars. Is don't fill up the whole jar, like because the oxygen needs to be in there. So like when I do like quart jars, I'll only put maybe like fill it up like a quarter. So I'll put like 200 mils. I don't know my jar. So like these, I use like these size, and I'll only put like that much liquid in there, which is about 200 mils. Like it's good to have that oxygen above there, that headspace, so that the mycelium like it. These guys I see on videos sometimes, like they're filling their liquid jars up, like their LC jars, like this much, and I'm like, why are they doing that? Like, who the fuck uses that much LC? Like, it's not going to be healthy because there's not enough oxygen in there. You've got to
Half
stir it
gallon full.
excessively. Yeah, it's just a waste.
Got a question here from Ace. Ace, just wanted to show you something really quick, Ace. I got all your syringes right here. These are yours, and I got the test plates from each one of them. Fully colonized. Well, not fully colonized, but mostly colonized. They're eating away all the food coloring. These were both blue. Now they're almost all white. And I got all your test plates. They all came out clean. These will be getting into the mail on Monday. So just wanted to let you know that, Ace. It's on its way Monday. So your plates are looking good. I'm going to send you the plates with the LCs. You have them. And then what was this next question? Would it be a fine idea to use SAP for pseudo casing layer? Oh, interesting. I have no idea. Samuel's asking about, I think, the acrylic polymer stuff. as a casing layer.
Yeah, I
What do you
went
think of?
back on, so I went on the Shroomery the other day and saw a bunch of stuff about this. So I was looking mainly for mixing it with the substrate. And what I saw was most people, it might have actually, I think I was on Reddit in the Shroomery, and a lot of people were just using it as a pseudo casing. And a few people were mixing it in, but so here's before I forget. Well, I mixed it, so my sodium polyacrylate. So I don't know that SAP is super absorbent polymers, and then there's like a bunch of those. It's kind of like the gel things. There's like a lot of different kinds of gels. But anyway, SPA, SAP, whatever, the sodium polyacrylate, the chunks I have, they start off like probably just, I don't know, like maybe about an eighth of an inch big, and when they hydrate, they get huge. And then so like I mixed it in with my substrate, and what I noticed is that when I mixed it all together, what's happening now is that they fully hydrated, but when I put them in with my spawn, it's like the water's like sort of leaching out, so it's like they were overhydrated or something. And I think it's something when I mixed in the spawn, maybe there's a change in the osmolarity. I hate to use that word again, but it's the right word. The basically the spawn has a bunch of dissolved stuff, and it's pulling water. So the main thing is what it's happening is they were fully hydrated in the substrate with the polyacrylate. So my quar, my verm, and my polyacrylate, it looked like it was perfectly hydrated. But when I mixed it with the spawn, what's happening, I think, is that spawn is probably, there's a lot of like sugar and whatever dissolved, that it's kind of just basically pulling water out of the gel, the sodium polyacrylate, like it's pulling water. So what's happening at the bottom of my shoebox, I'm getting like liquid water at the bottom of the, mix of sub and everything. So I
The
think I'm gonna
sodium
have
will
to.
pull the polymer out of the water. Like if you mix salt to sodium in with your PAS mixture, it'll separate them, or however you want to
That
call it.
would be the basic. Yes, that's the principle of osmolarity. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
might be losing technical terms.
No,
Sorry.
that's exactly it.
Okay.
No, I bet I'm gonna keep using this term because everybody's like scared of it. They shouldn't be. It's a very common, like in weed, people know EC, right? Electrical conductivity. It's the same basic idea. When you have dissolved ions like salt, if you put like salt on a cucumber or cantaloupe or whatever, which is really delicious if you've never tried it. Salt on oranges and cantaloupe is fucking delicious. Watermelon too. Not too much. You don't want it to be like salty, just like enough, and it like triggers. But you've noticed if you put salt on like cucumber slices, the water will come out. So that's the basic idea. But instead of putting salt, imagine your grain spawn is like the salt crystals. So when it gets close to that fully hydrated sodium polyacrylate, what's happening is it's basically the water inside that is trying to come out to dilute the salt. That's what's happening. This is a process called osmosis. So osmosis, osmolarity, they're connected. So yeah, it's the same exact thing when you put salt on fruit. The water tries to come out of the fruit to basically equilibrate the concentration of the salt inside and outside. It's the same exact idea. Osmosis, reverse RO. So these are all terms like we need to start using these terms. We need to start, so reverse osmosis, RO water. So every pot grower knows RO water and every pot grower knows EC. It's the same exact principle. Why we call it reverse osmosis is because that osmotic process that's happening, like when you put salt on cucumbers, the reason why that water is coming out is due to osmosis. And so to reverse osmosis, like if you have salty water and you want to make it pure, that's why it's called reverse osmosis. Because it normally is going this way, and you pressurize it and put it through a semi-permeable membrane, and that's the reverse part. So instead of getting like diluted salty water, which is happening with like your cucumbers, you get like pure clean water and you leave the salt behind. It's all connected. Like people don't need to be afraid of words like osmosis. Like it's not a scary word. It's only 3 syllables.
I just forget the words. That's all.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm going to keep using it, because a year ago people didn't know what the fuck a cultigen was.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using all these words. I'm just like not holding back anymore. I'm going to start talking about back crossing and genetic drift and You know, these things, like, I'm going to introduce these terms and people will get acclimated to them, you know, so that we can use them and we can talk about things more scientifically. Um, yeah, I
The
think it's a
thing is
good thing.
also, home growers are beginners. They shouldn't be scared of these terms. They should look them up.
Mm,
They should say, okay, what does this person mean by dikaryon or monoculture or monokaryon? Take 2
yep,
minutes, look up, just Google it. Any word you don't understand, Google it.
exactly.
You spell it wrong. Usually it asks you if that's not what you meant. So if you don't
Exactly.
understand as and you're a beginner, just Google it or ask somebody that is using the term. They're usually more than happy to explain. At least I am. I know Ed explains many times what things mean. Um, don't just use terms just to use them. That's the other thing people have been doing. I hate that. You know, somebody will say, "Oh, we got a mono dikaryotic guys, mono this, that, and the other thing." And I'm like, "What are you talking?" Like,
Yeah.
I do something, and again, I went back to why are you flame sterilizing a brand new syringe?
Yeah, that's still my favorite one.
That's
Yeah.
like doing alcohol. So you went from brand new sterile to flame sterilized to sanitized. Whatever.
Yeah, that kills me. Yeah.
It's just funny to watch. And under the guise of mycologist, I do myco stuff. I'm not a mycologist. I do mushroom shit with a certain couple mushrooms. But yeah, it's just terms are great. I love the way that you use them and spread them to everybody. Thank you for doing that.
Hmm.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
we
it's
lost.
something I learned. I still every day I write down words. Like I've got my little post-it notes here, and like I was just like listened to Travis yesterday, and he used this word sporadic, and I was like, what is that word? And I mean, maybe to like plant people, that's like a common word, but I didn't know spagyric. Spagyric. See, I still don't know the fucking word. Spagyric. Spagyrics is okay. It's an alchemical process that uses ancient methods to create medicinal products from plants. Spagyric. Spagyric. And I didn't know that word. It's basically like how you like you maybe break apart plant stuff and reconstitute it, kind of like what they do with cannabis extracts. You know, where you get the terps and the oils and the CBD stuff and the THC and whatever. I don't know, however they separate it. But yeah, it's this kind of idea, and I had heard that word before, but then I didn't. Yeah, I heard him use it, so I looked it up and I wrote it down, and I'll try to use it more. Yeah. I live in a country where like everybody speaks a different language, so I kind of find it necessary to learn. I try to learn a
I'm
new
losing you.
word.
Yeah, you're fading in
Like,
and out a couple of times on me.
don't know. Looks okay on my end. Don't
Yeah,
know.
look, I can see the pre-screens on the bottom, and I can see you, but it goes off a couple times here and there. No big deal. I can still hear you, so everybody else probably can too.
Yeah, sometimes the processing going one way or another, but then later on when you watch it, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, newbie, what size is that tent? It is 24 by 44, just like Derek said. Thank you, Derek. I was talking to Derek earlier about the tent. That's why, like, let's see. Let me fill out the stairs.
So it's like a 2 by 4.
It's 2 feet deep by about, it's like between 40 and 44, depending on where you measure. I know that sounds like a stupid way to say it, but on the inside of the pipes, you can't put a rack in there because the pipes are taking up an inch on both sides. So on the inside of the inside dimension, which I use ID. The ID is 42, 43, 41 to 42. The OD is 44. So if that helps, I understand in IDOD because I'm back into plumbing and heating, air conditioning and stuff. I know those types of stuff.
Yes.
I say things people don't understand too. It's like, yeah, you get. I go back and forth between metric and imperial all the time, and depending on who I'm talking to what country they're from, I start doing that, and then I stop doing it with other. I confuse myself sometimes by using all these weird terms that aren't from the science part. They're from like just regular everyday life, mechanical stuff, and things like that. I kind of incorporate. So yeah, it could be 24 by 40 or 44, depending on how you set it up. But if you're putting
Yeah, it's
plants in it,
funny.
you could easily put them on the bottom and they could spread inches. Go ahead.
It's funny here, the pipes. I'm thinking about that. The PVC pipe here, what we would call half-inch pipe, they actually refer to it as it's because it's got a 22 millimeter outside diameter.
Yeah.
So when you go to buy it, they just you got to be careful. It's actually literally listed
Yep.
on like the store shop as like half-inch pipe. They use both inches and millimeters here. But if you look on the pipe, it actually says like 22 millimeter OD, which is way more than a half. Like a half inch is like, I don't know, 16, like 15. No, no, no. It's like half inch is like 12 and a half millimeters, something like that. But the outside of the pipe is much bigger, but they still call it half inch pipe because it's the inside diameter. So they call,
Well, that's what
yeah,
they
it's
years
funny.
ago. But even copper pipe, there used to be differences between half-inch K, half-inch L, half-inch M. Different pipes had different IDODs depending on the thickness, whether it was for refrigeration, home water, or gas. You
Mm.
could get really deeply into it. Then you got iron pipe, which you got nominal pipe threads. You got all kinds of different schedules. You get into all this stuff that's technical, but I don't know why they just don't put a ruler on it and say it's this size. But
It's probably
half
got
inch is
some reason. Like why
size
are
is
two
for
by four? Well, two by
yeah, two
fours
by four.
are really, they're actually an inch and a half by 3.5, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't think. Yeah, if I use one
Yeah.
by threes to build, they're like 3/4 of an inch by two. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it kind of fucks you up if you don't know that already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
those trade. I think sometimes the trades people too, they like to have their little like secrets, like their trade secrets, literally. Like that's probably why we call them trade secrets, right?
yeah, like
Because if you don't
square.
know that trade, you don't understand it.
Don't ever ask your wife to get you a square. She'll never find it. It's a triangle shape.
Yeah,
You get a straight square,
exactly.
it's a triangle.
Th- Yeah, that's funny because I was trying to buy one of those like last year, and I was asking the guy at the store here in English and and he was just looking at me like, "What the fuck?" I had to find a picture on the internet, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, that thing." It's like, yeah, Sam Liang, like so Sam Liang, like three side. It's a triangle, but so they call it a triangle, which makes more fucking sense, right? But we call it a square. But you know, that's a reference because you're making things square or plumb, right? So it does actually make sense when you know, yeah, because you're trying
Right.
to square the fucking corner and like, but the
Yeah.
thing has actually got a fucking, it's actually a triangle, but it's
I
descriptive
have
of
a.
what you use it for, not what shape it is.
But anyway, so yeah, there's terms for every different community or group we talk about. So let's see what question.
Well, that's why I try to
All right.
use these things. I try to use. I'm not gonna hold back anymore on the whole fucking allele, loci, locus, multi-allelic, polygenic, recessive, dominant. Like I'm not holding back anymore, and people are starting to instead of like being like, God damn it, I don't know what that is, and shutting off. People are like, oh, maybe I should figure out what Ed means. He keeps using this fucking word dominant. Why the fuck does he keep using that word? Maybe they'll go look it up.
Exactly. I find myself constantly. I go, I don't understand a lot of the technical terms. I understand what the processes are or what the basic idea is, but to explain it in the actual scientific terms, I have a problem with. Just I think maybe because I started using drugs at too young of an age, so I'm a little bit, slow on the uptake on some of those things. But I understand them
It's a
once I hear them and once I
common
see them. Like I can remember what they do. But yeah, yeah, kind of problem. I mean, I was actually just talking with my father yesterday. We were driving back from somewhere, and we were talking about ages of, driving age, drinking age, stuff like that. And the whole thing was when you're 16 and 17, up until probably 30 years old, he said there's a part of your brain that's just not connected yet. You don't have the connection yet. And I said, yeah. And when you use drugs at a young age, you're basically pausing that connection, filling it up with drugs. That's why people that are 35 that started young just aren't quite there yet. They're there. They're
yeah,
perfectly great
that's
people, but missing things that they're just not connected to yet.
yes, that's the
I don't know.
that's funny that you say that because I've read a bunch about this and it's exactly what you just said. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until you're like 25.
Yeah,
And this is why a
funny.
lot of guys in our community, I mean, I hate to say it, it's gonna be, it's touchy for some people, but it's like, yeah, if you start smoking massive amounts of weed and doing like 10 strips of acid when you're like 13 years old, it does fuck your brain up.
And then I was talking to another person. And they were talking how emotional regulation can affect your IQ as well. If you're not emotionally regulated, your IQ can go down because you're not critically taking that process and thinking about it. You're reacting. So when you see something that's really reactive, and you think, well, man, he's a fucking idiot. Sorry, they're actually dumber, not dumber, but they're not comprehending. So yeah, all the little parts when you start using drugs, they take time. So that's why I forget terms.
Now, I'm glad you're saying this because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I have read quite a bit about this, and it's fairly obvious when you don't need to read any research papers. When you talk to somebody who started early doing massive amounts of drugs, I frequently talk to people and I'm like, wow, this guy is like stagnated at age 13.
Oh, absolutely.
Like he never emotionally developed. The shit that he's pissed off about now as like a 40-year-old man is the same thing that pissed him off when he was 13. It was like something happened, and it's like,
and it doesn't have to,
that's it. Like it's hard to progress past it.
Like other people have trauma that can stagnate that process too. It can stop the aging or the maturing of the brain, and it can happen through emotional trauma. It can happen through physical trauma too. Sure. But it's amazing how sometimes the emotions override someone's critical thinking and reasoning to the point where they just can't think, which is too bad. I mean, and hopefully they grow out of it. But yeah, anyway,
it's crazy, dude. Yeah, but, I mean, here I meet a lot of people, older guys, and I meet them, and usually within about 5 minutes of talking to them, I'm like, oh wow, I know what something happened to you, and I don't. Obviously, I'm not going to tell them, but I meet a lot of people very briefly and very frequently, and I see the same patterns over and over again, and it's like, oh, okay, like yeah. So I use it for myself in order not to trigger them. Like I can kind of gauge, or I just don't give a shit normally, but I know there's certain types of people I meet, and I can tell initially, like within like 5 to 10 minutes, I can tell like certain topics are going to be no-go topics. Like you just don't go there, and like try to keep everything very topical. And
you on 4 words to not ever say when you're talking to Ed, and I'm not gonna. There's certain things that I know that you don't like talking about, and that's fine. You can learn about everybody. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure you're used to that, getting the comments and having the way people talk.
Now I'm curious what 4 words.
That's Trump. What was the other one? Monocariotization, remonic.
Oh, I don't know.
I've heard you rant about it. I just.
Oh, anyway. I don't know. You can say anything you want to me. It's just a matter of like whether I reply. I don't really get upset about too many things. I may sound like I'm getting excited, but I
meant triggered.
I generally, I don't know if I'd go. No, usually I don't get triggered. Sometimes I wonder why people are bringing up certain topics. Like a lot of times people bring up topics with the specific intention to either like get you upset. So I recognize like quite readily, like what if somebody's trying to piss me off, I just think I'm not upset. I just think like, why are they trying to do this? Yeah. It's more of a reflection on themselves. Like 90% of the stuff people you don't need to apologize for any. You don't have to apologize for anything, dude.
I've seen the videos where people harp on these same things over and over that you've explained 100 times. That's kind of where I was getting at. That's what I meant by the word that you've explained 100 times. It's just funny because I know you don't like talking about politics, which is fine. I don't either, really, in public. That's all. Things like that.
Well, I don't know. I don't think politics really have any place in a mushroom discussion. Last time I knew, mushrooms didn't have anything to do with politics.
Oh, exactly. And the way that things are nowadays, people try to bring that into everything. I get caught.
Yeah, that's why I don't.
Yep.
That's why I don't. You'll never hear me talk about that shit. I don't think it has anything to do with mushrooms.
No.
I mean, like, if I was, I don't know, a corn farmer and I start talking about porcelain vases, like, I don't. It's a completely different topic. I don't know why people want to infuse it into every discussion.
You're right. Hey,
it's boring, man. It's fucking boring, dude. To be honest, it's boring as shit.
Yeah,
Like,
And
does somebody have the audacity to think that they've got some brilliant fucking thing that I've never heard before?
yeah,
It's like, wow, that's like kind of getting maybe back to the like smoking too much weed when you're 13. Like, if you think you've got some brilliant fucking idea that I haven't heard every day for the last like 40 years of my life,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you should write books or something.
I was I was watching a guy walking through Thailand today in Bangkok or Bangkok or something like that in Thailand. I don't know where it
There's a
is.
lot of pin cloud bank. There's a lot of pin bank prat.
Like,
There's a
he
lot of
walked showing different places, like the way you can get massages or nails done or haircuts, and everything's like 200 baht, 300 baht. It's all like $4, $5 stuff. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cheap. And then he's explaining also how it's different than it is in America. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I was just doing some views of some Thailand stuff earlier. I don't know how that subject came up.
it's a good place. I was just talking about with my buddies. Problem is, most people aren't comfortable outside of their own little bubbles.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. Like, I've got a buddy now, I got like 2 or 3 guys that if now was a time to make a change in their life, it would probably be a good time. But I don't know if they have it's hard, man. I've lived here
Yeah.
for 20 years and it's not for everybody. I'm like 100% comfortable here, but it would not be for everybody.
I plan on someday, but I don't plan on moving to a different country right now. I plan on moving to more like a homesteading type area to be away from everything. But that's just, I prefer privacy and dogs and animals and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm sure there's farmlands out in Thailand too. You could probably grow up or go out to if you wanted to. Lots of
There is. Oh man, you can move. It's very easy. I mean, shit, 30 minutes away from where I live, dude. It's like rice fields and shit. But privacy, I mean, is like you can be as private as you want, and you can live in a building with 500 people and still be private. It means different things. If you mean just you want a bunch of land between you and the neighbor, yeah, you can do that here too. But I don't want to. It'd be boring. So a lot of people think they want that until they actually do it. So you get a lot of older white guys that will move here and they'll like hook up with some girl, and she's like, "Oh, my family, we got land out in blah blah BFE Riceville." And they move out there and then they realize like, well, they want privacy, but then they realize like, well, now I'm alone. And most people aren't comfortable being alone. Like, truly being alone is difficult for most people. Like, I mean, literally alone by yourself is like a difficult thing for most people.
If I didn't have pets or something with me, I wouldn't be able to do it. I consider pets part of my life, but if I didn't have my dog or any other animals, I wouldn't be able to be alone in the nowhere. But yeah.
Nobody would. We're social people. We're social animals.
But anyways,
humans aren't.
Saying such a beautiful country. I'm so jealous of you being in a beautiful country like that and being able to still talk with the people here and help us learn things that you know what I mean. It's so cool. It's the way the community works.
The world's a small place, man. It's a small place now. It's with the internet and everything else. It's but everybody can if you I mean I'm not trying to be like a tour guide or anything, but if you live like a fucking king here for $1,000 a month. Not 1,000. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm converting to Thai baht. Not I was 3,000 USD here a month. You're fucking living like a king. That's like everything. People do those videos where you could live on 1,000. Yeah, you can live in a fucking trailer park in the US and pay $200 a month rent for some shit trailer, right? Yeah, you could live in the US probably on $1,500 a month, but like you're gonna live like a shit like piece, not good. But you just more bang for your buck over here. That's all.
Yeah, it very cool. I like that. I like the way that the tour the guy gave. He gave a good tour. He was just showing real life, day to day stuff. How it's like a moped, friendly area. Everybody's got mopeds. You don't have to have a car and all this. Like I'm sure. I think you said you had a motorcycle or whatever. But it was really
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
tour you did. It reminded me of the videos you did at the rural place, the arboretum, or the place that had all the
Yeah,
plants and stuff
the
you went to
mark.
one day. You did a live
Oh,
stream.
oh yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah, that's what it was. It was
Arboretum
Arboretum.
or something like that. Maybe that's what they call
Yeah, yeah.
it. I got a question here from Masked Mofo. Any idea why a couple of BRF jars started fruiting on top before they even halfway colonized? Yeah, they wanted
Yep.
to.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean,
ah,
okay, let me grab something about that. Also, that's something I wanted to show people.
can you put the questions up on the screen? I think the simple answer is oxygen.
Yeah,
If you they're getting oxygen, so they're at low CO2 at the top of the jar. That would probably be the explanation. You've got those little holes with the micropore tape on it. They're just getting oxygen. Could also, if the rest
okay,
of
here we go.
your cake is contaminated, a lot of times when they come up against contamination, they'll fruit. It's like a defense mechanism. They're like, oh shit, like I need to fruit now because things are going bad. So if the rest of the cake is not colonizing well, they might fruit just to try to make fruit and disperse their spores. That's like their kind of natural reaction to adversity. But it's probably also just the oxygen thing. So what you can do
I
is flip
forgot
them
to
over.
colonize a couple jars because
Flip.
they were something like that. So this one here is like it's not a BRF, but basic idea where it just started fruiting on the side. This huge fruit. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah,
But
I can see it.
it came up right where the oxygen hole stopped. So it was looking for the oxygen. There's another spot right there. But it basically came up right where the oxygen was going into the jar's lid. But I'm just putting it in the tent like that to see what will happen.
Yeah, that's just funny. Like plants look for light, our mushrooms look for oxygen. They're like,
Yeah, that was funny because
like
that jar
sometimes
I
you'll
looked at it, fruit sticking right up into the syringe, not the syringe filter, the place that I put the little micropore tape on. It was like a disc, and it came right up to that hole in the filter.
Yep.
Anyway, that was, so
I mean, it makes sense if you think about it because what they're trying to do is release their spores. So oxygen to them means fresh air, which means the spores are going to be dispersed. So that's what they're actually looking for. Like it's when a mushroom comes out of a log. The reason, they go up and they're trying to basically get air currents to disperse their spores. So
yeah,
kind of makes sense when you realize what mushrooms do. The reason for a mushroom forming is basically to produce spores. So release the spores.
Yeah, like when you do a sport, make sure you put the lid, make a little bit of space between the fruiting body and the foil or whatever, so that there's like on sticks or something to make sure that someone was saying it gets a little bit of air movement through the underneath of a cap so that the spores drop.
Don't know about that.
Well, basically, like taking
just get
fruit on top of it so that they drop down onto the foil without touching the foil with the fruit body
Oh,
itself.
okay. If you're gonna make multi-spore syringes, so they'll be more sterile.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I don't do.
Yeah, so some people do that. They'll make a burner print, or they'll they'll use like a little grid, or sometimes I use chopsticks. Like I'll take 2 chopsticks and spray the hell out of them with alcohol, and let them sit for 5 minutes, and then rest the cap on the chopsticks.
Yeah. I think someone else was saying how it could also represent like air. It also allows air to get like difficult dropping caps to drop because they know that the wind is moving. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably by the time you want to print, they're dead or dying.
I would just get a bigger bowl.
Yeah.
I wouldn't crack the bowl open. I would just get a bigger bowl.
Yeah.
It's I wouldn't try to purposely put a gap under the bowl that's going to introduce external air, which is not a good idea. Just get a bigger bowl.
Yeah. Just thought with the dispersal you're talking about wind or for nature, but yeah. Hey, Partha. Nice to
Yeah,
see
but
you.
we're yeah, but
Sorry,
that's what people sometimes try to draw too many kind of
that's not.
conclusions about. Like this is the way it works in nature, but remember, we're not. A tub is not nature.
Yeah. And
CV is
the
not
cap cut off,
nature.
cut a cap off the stem. It's not really thinking anymore. It's kind of like decapitating a person. It's not really probably running too many thought processes, or I don't know how that would.
Yeah. You're just trying to
I don't
get
know.
sterile spores. I
Yeah.
think all of those methods are you're just trying to get. So what I'll often do is you can see there in the center of that, I cut the stem about maybe a quarter inch below the actual gills. So you don't actually want the gills touching the foil because if the gills touch, the gills will have bacteria on them. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to make a multi-spore syringe and you want really, really, really clean, you can. Here's another easy way, very, very easy way. If you're gonna do multi-spore syringes, just take a glass of sterile water and put your chopsticks on the top, and put your cap directly over the water. Yeah, you just put them directly in the water. But that's
I
if
saw
you're gonna make multi.
I saw someone take a cap and they were spraying the spores off of it with a syringe full of water. But that might not be that great of a result. But yeah, they're fun.
That's not good. Yeah. If you're that desperate to get like an albino spore syringe, maybe. I don't know. I think that's a bit silly, but I don't know.
It was
People
just
do
fun to
all kinds
watch.
of stuff. I don't want to talk shit about anybody's techniques.
No, I just thought it was funny. I'm not, hey, I wouldn't doubt I would have tried something like that when I first started too, just because I didn't know the difference between, that gills had bacteria when they started growing older and just or whatever. They're more bacterial,
Mm.
and I tried that too my first few months growing. Cool, let's try this. But yeah,
You
now I would
learn a
never
lot of
even consider.
things from
Yeah,
mistakes. That's how I've
yeah,
learned most, like 90% of the stuff I've learned is from mistakes. Just something I was talking about earlier too, how people in our hobby or entering our hobby are so terrified to like admit that they made a mistake. Like, oh, I never get contamination, or I don't know why people, maybe I hate to say it, but it might go back to that prefrontal cortex lack of emotional development. People have not learned to deal with adversity or how to get past a problem. So they get stuck. And if they see a problem, like I've heard a lot of people say things like, I want to make sure I do it right the first time. And it's like, very rarely in life are you going to do something right the first time.
yeah. And
I mean,
why not have a second
most people,
and play it? I like having more than one time. Like like my cakes, I make a bunch of little cakes just because I know one or two of them is probably going to go bad or not have the best results. So why not make three little ones instead of one big one? I get better chances. Yeah, rarely do things come out right every time. That's definitely
most of life is a
right.
series of
Yeah,
mistakes, and people need to learn how to deal with mistakes and how to correct their mistakes. If you don't correct your mistakes, you're stupid. That's what differentiates. It's not really about intelligence or how smart you are. What makes you stupid is that you do the same shit over and over and over again and you expect something different to happen. This is one of
self-fixate.
those things. I mean, I sound like some motivational coach now or something. It's not like I forgot somebody said the way they say it, but if
Definitely.
you're a smart person, you learn from your mistakes and you correct and you modify what caused that to happen. And a
Yeah,
lot of people lack that ability because they have emotional triggers that somebody, I don't know, maybe their dad disciplined them when they were 12 years old, or they didn't get a fucking star from their teacher, or what, I don't know what happens. But people feel like they've never been rewarded for either doing good things or they were overly chastised for doing something bad. So it makes they remember that and they're like, oh, I can't let that happen again. Like, oh, I remember that time I didn't fucking score a home. I got thrown out at fucking home plate. Like, oh, and my dad fucking yelled at me and like it, whatever the fuck it might be. People get triggered for all this kind of shit. I was fortunate enough. My dad didn't really give a shit about me because he had six other kids. So he's like, yeah, whatever, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't know. Just fucking, I don't know, whatever. Fuck some, like as long as, yeah.
The way I hear
Anyway,
it,
he didn't really give a shit. He didn't really give a shit. So when I fucked up, he didn't care. My mom didn't, well, my mom, maybe she cared, but yeah, I was like, 6 of 7. So it wasn't a big deal.
look at him. Family of 7 or 6 brothers, so she had it rough that growing up. She was the princess, but she had all brothers around her. But the way I heard it was, dumb people don't learn from their mistakes. Smart people learn from their mistakes, and wise people learn from others' mistakes. That's the way I heard
Yeah,
it.
that's a good way to put it. Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's the word I always look for. I think wise. Yeah, learn from other people's mistakes. That's the best way to learn is like learn from, so you don't have to do the same shit again. That's why we have books. That's why I get a little, I do get triggered about this when people are so fucking anti-education and so like anti-books. And like, this is why we have books, is to learn from other people's mistakes. Like that's how you learn how to, that's what people who write books, they probably do it because they get to a point where they're like, wow, I've made a shitload of mistakes. I should probably tell other people not to do the same dumb shit that I did. You think all those chemistry books, motherfucker blew their eyes out, ruined their noses, probably killed themselves. Like the reason why we have chemistry books is so you don't do the same dumb shit that some guy back in the 1700s was doing and blew his fucking hand off or whatever,
Let's see. Questions here. No, nobody's calling anybody out here, guys. Relax. Don't like it. Don't be here. I have no idea.
I'm not even gonna read the comments, dude. I know so, but you've got a different audience than I do. I'm not even gonna read the comments, dude. I'll let you handle it. If there's something you want me to talk about, I'll just put it up on the screen. No. I'm not gonna bother getting involved in people's. I know already you brought up politics, so I know people got triggered from that already, dude.
I'm not even talking about that anyways. Question. Hey, I've been wondering if a stirring a string. I'm sorry. Here we go, Justin. Justin has a question. I've been wondering if a string could be used for long-term storage. What's your guys' thought? String?
String.
Syringe.
You might be talking to.
No, he said syringe. There we go. Let's change it. There we go.
Oh.
A syringe used for long-term storage. I don't see why not. I mean, if you can get the same as a.
I think he was talking about. I was talking to somebody about taking a mycelium plate and sucking, like spraying sterile water on it and then sucking it up into a syringe.
Yeah,
I
like
don't remember.
Or a master slurries that somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Water. I've done that to inoculate grain where I just actually it was kind of the same. I used it as more like a biopsy of the agar, but basically, I got some mycelium syringe, put it into a grain jar. But
yep, I think depending on how much you get in there, if you're using more water, you might call it like a storage, and if you're sucking up chunks of agar, you might call it liquid inoculant or slurry or whatever.
3 or 4 new jars of sterile LC sitting there. So if I was going to spray a plate, I would probably use LC water because it's sterile, rather than try to find sterile. Go sterilize water. I already have some, so I would do that. So I haven't tried that, but yeah, if you had distilled water in a syringe, or not distilled, I'm sorry, sterile water, you could do long-term water in a syringe. Just suck up some biopsies.
For sure.
Biopsies off your plate or something.
If you're actually going to use it for long-term storage, I would try to stay more on the water side than try not to get too many chunks. Because the idea with water storage is you're trying to force them into this hibernation, this stasis. So I would try to get less nutrients, like don't suck up a bunch of chunks. I mean, it'll still probably work fine, but.
Like I've taken biopsies off agar plates where I'm just getting like the top mycelium off the agar.
Yeah.
You could do 2 of those into a syringe of sterile water. That would be probably pretty good to do long-term storage. Then you could just shoot them out if you wanted to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Justin's same storage idea. Or even you could probably take the end off of a syringe if you're in a sterile environment. You could just take the plunger out and drop some agar in, but you got to be careful because when you put the syringe back in or the plunger back in, you're going to squirt water out the front. So unless you know how to flip it, and tricks we used to use is bad youth. don't know how to flip a syringe that's full, then you might want to suck them up. But or you know what you could do without a needle. What about the like a brand new syringe where the lure lock is? Maybe you could get some non-lure lock lure slip connectors and just stick those like a punch over the agar and the plate. That might work.
I saw somebody doing that. I worried about the lure lock. It's pretty darn close if you stab it. Like somebody was basically using like an agar punch.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Have you seen a lure slide syringe? They don't have the lock on it, so it's more of like a.
Oh yeah. Yeah, without the threads.
5/16 long.
Oh yeah. I know. Because I again I made a mistake and I accidentally ordered a box of 100 of them. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. They just cut
100 or 50 milliliter ones. I use them for my vaping, but yeah. But anyways, that might work. But yeah, just like I bought a bunch of these by accident. These little 3 milliliter syringes. I don't know if you know, I mean, they work great, but you only get 2 or 3 LCs in there or whatever you use it for. They're actually really good for doing biopsies though, because you don't waste a lot of 10 milliliter syringes doing biopsies. Use a little 3 milliliter.
I thought about that too, but they're actually the 10 milliliter ones are cheaper than the 3 here.
Well, I got
because the 10 are so ubiquitous that like they're actually like cheaper than the smaller ones. So I was like, yeah. I thought it'd be cute, like, oh, I'll sell 3 ml like LCs, and then it was like they're like more expensive than the 10 ml ones. So
these two 10 ml syringes are 2 different sizes. If you look at these are both at the well, let me see. At the top they're even. Let me even them out right there, and then the bottom they're both different length. Both 10 milliliter syringes, and they're like a half-inch difference in length. I don't know.
Yeah, same here. Different manufacturers. They have different outside diameters or whatever, and inside diameters.
Justin, I think that could work if you use sterile water for long-term storage in a syringe. Give it a try. Let us know how it works. Let's see.
I just find syringes kind of difficult to store. There's always that chance I'm like the plunger, you're hitting the end. I'm all for these kind of tubes, man. These things they're just easy to work with. These 50 ml, these things, and they're not too big. If you can get the smaller 15 ml ones, but I don't know, man. These are the greatest thing for storage.
Let's see. Any tips for dealing with gnats? Yes, burn your whole. No, I use what I do now to prevent gnats is I put up those fly strips just to have in my, like I usually keep one right over my shoulder back here. It's not there right now because it's winter and I cleaned out all my gnat stuff right now. And I had like a tub. I saw something move when I was cleaning it or moving it around. I took the lid off the fan and I saw something move, but it already had 2 flushes, so I just threw it out. It automatically went out, and then what I did is I just everything in my new tent was clean before I put it in there because I didn't want anything going in there with gnats. I know that the eggs are probably there if there's been any, but with the cold weather, I'm gonna get less and less, hopefully. But yeah, there's people that believe in using like I don't know the exact herbs, but there are herbs and stuff you can like do like saging, like not saging, but the way they use sage sticks. What's that called when you get it to smoke? Smelting or
smudge sticks.
There's different herbs. There's check. I don't know if you know this person, Mass Mofo, but on Instagram, Angel at Princess of Cubensis, she has some ideas about. She uses different herbs and flowers and stuff and smudge sticks too. And she says she has great luck with it. So maybe that could be something you could look into. That's my side of it, but probably a technical side of it that Ed might know. I don't know. That's just my tips.
Oh, not technical at all. It's simple. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Don't leave anything in your tent more than a month and a half. The gnat life cycle will, if you get rid of it, you just get rid of it.
Yep.
Simple. It's really, 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 really easy to get rid of gnats. Get rid of anything that's more than 4 weeks old in your tent. Yep. If something that hasn't fruited in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, it's not going to fruit. Get rid of it. If it's on its second flush, maybe third flush, if you're pushing shit to like 5 flushes, you should do more mycology. You shouldn't, like anybody who's pushing, like I used to hear people like brag about, oh, I got 7 flushes. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, you're an idiot if you're you're compromising your grow space. That's like unhealthy.
The only person I've seen that's doing that is each cake is inside of a sealed unmodified monotone. so they can take one whole monitor out if it goes bad or whatever. But yeah, again, I get 2 flushes and I'm happy. The
Yes.
only reason I found one little thing on one gnat on one cake is because I just took the second flush off and there was like 3 fruit. I wanted to see if I could get a few more because there's still a lot of pins. But
Yes, this is not like a dick swinging contest. If
don't
you're trying to get more than 3 flushes, you're missing the point.
know. I'm happy with getting 1 fruit off most of my little cakes, or 1 or 2. That's I'm thrilled to get 1 fruit because then I can do stuff with that fruit, especially if it's like that Louis Vuitton. I mean, that's a decent sized fruit for a little 4x4 cake. I mean, and cake still has some water in it, so it might get a little bigger. I doubt it, but it's solid as well too. But yeah, just get rid of it. Like Ed said, that's basically what I do. If I see anything move on my surface, a lot of times you'll see like I don't know. I see things moving. Uh-huh.
Dude, there shouldn't be shit moving in your tent.
No.
Get the fucking rid of it. Get the fuck
Yeah,
it out of your tent.
not a hallucination.
This
Get
is
rid of
not
it.
a zoo, man. It's not a zoo. It's a fucking
Oh,
grow
it's not
tent.
this. If you see anything moving on the surface of your substrate, get rid of it.
Yes, unless you just ate like 5 grams. Get rid of it. You should never see anything moving in your tent.
I see things like flashing sometimes, but that's just my head's kind of a little screwed up. But anyway, here's I got this. Let me do Michael. Oh, let's see. I don't know what you're talking about already, but thank you. Justin. Oh, here we go. Another one from Justin. Can a spore come in contact with bacteria before it comes out of the basidia? I don't know.
Oh yeah. I think so.
I mean,
It
depends how
might not, but it
Go
would
ahead.
be hard to separate if there's like bacteria on your gills or on the basidia. It's going to be virtually impossible for you to isolate spores without also touching the basidia.
Yeah. But if the spore falls, could it have bacteria on it? Yeah, I'd say it could. Like if like say you're taking a spore print, the spores can the spores grab bacteria after they release from the gills? I don't know.
I suppose they could, but I don't think that's something you need to worry about. He might be talking about, is there bacteria inside the cytoplasm of the basidium? I don't think so.
Oh.
No, the bacteria,
Good question, Justin.
99% of the time, bacterial contamination comes from contact. So contact could be through like things like fomites. They call them fomites. Like when you spit or when you talk or when you sneeze, the amount of shit that comes out of your mouth is ridiculous. And every one of those little particles has bacteria in it. And so if that lands on something else, if it contacts something else, that's a vector for contamination. Bacteria don't really, so they don't really just like float around in the air, but you touch a lot of stuff. And your mushrooms
Yep.
were touching substrate. Before they came up through that substrate, they were touching the substrate. So yeah, bacteria are everywhere, and it's primarily because they're so small, but it's also because everything touches something. Like nothing grows in like a total void, you know? It's like it touches something at some point.
I had a question for you, Ed. Say you had like a fruit that's it's kind of a dumb question. Now that I actually start to say it. Never mind. I'm trying to think if you had a fruit that starts to rot like bad, you can't from a fruit that's going bad anyways, so that would be pretty.
Anyway, say again what I didn't hear the.
I'm basically thinking about if a fruit starts rotting, you wouldn't want to clone it or get spores from it anyways. But my question is,
no, you can clone it. No, you can clone it. You can clone rotting fruit quite readily. I do it all the time. You just have to work a little bit harder.
Bacteria.
Yes.
Would you consider? I'm interested. Okay, so
that's
rot
why
would
you
be causing.
Yes, that's why you can clone it.
Oh.
Because the rot is bacteria, but when you get it on a 2-dimensional agar surface, the mycelium will often crawl past that bacteria. I probably have a plate now. A lot of times when you clone stuff, you'll get that little slimy stuff around it. If you let it sit long enough, sometimes the mycelium will crawl over that bacteria. So yeah, the rot that's rotting the mushroom, that's bacteria. And it is a point at which it basically takes over and there's no recovering any kind of fungal tissue from it. But yeah, you can clone half-rotten fruit quite readily. It's not going to work as well, but you can do it.
I've also seen people with these overripe fruits that are dark blue, but it seems like it's jelly inside. I think that's rot more so than.
Oh yeah, that's bacteria. I
Yeah,
mean, if you're trying to clone something, don't let it go that far.
grab some white stuff.
But you could still. I mean, today I cloned. I finally got my albino Odisha squat to fruit, and I got spores from it. But it was I've had the culture for probably 4 years, and I couldn't get it to fruit. I didn't really concentrate on it, but I finally got a fruit and I got spores, and then I cloned it. But it was pretty. It was getting to the point where it was pretty getting soft. But I'm pretty sure I can still get a culture from it.
Cool.
I probably got one laying around here.
Well, I'll look through these questions. Good morning, Kim. Daniel, I don't know if I said hi. I said Michael, but I meant to say hi to you, Daniel. Nice to see you. Mike Baraball, good morning. Or afternoon. I shouldn't say good morning. It's afternoon now. I'm not, well, somebody on the East Coast or West Coast would be morning still. Anyways, Green Table Gardens, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you. Yeah, let's see, 5280. I have seen all you guys in the chat. I apologize for not saying hi. But we've been talking. Good morning, Christopher. Good afternoon. Okay, I gotta take the cap off. Yeah, just that if you mess with syringes enough, I used to mess with them a lot. But if you take the plunger out to fill a syringe with something, like putting the agar chunks in there, when you go to put the plunger back in, there's going to be a little bit of headspace above the liquid. If you put the plunger against the opening without squirting anything out the bottom, and you quickly flip it while pushing the plunger back in, that's one trick you can do. Practice it with a syringe of just water first, because you can do it without having water spurting out the top. But if it's sterile water, you won't lose much. You'll just lose some water. That's practices from a misspent youth, or knowledge from a misspent youth, or adolescence and mid 20s and 30s. Anyways, yeah, I have a lot of experience with syringes as far as putting them together. But yeah, as long as you're careful, you can get the plunger back in. Yeah, yeah. I was just saying, if you took the plunger out, you got to be careful putting it back in, especially on big 5 or 10 milliliter syringes. It would be a pain in the butt. Neem oil. Thank you, Mike. That was what I was thinking about. Neem oil. Well, Princess put neem oil on a smudge stick and she smokes it or whatever in her house. I mean, from what she says, she has great luck. Cool, Emerald Ivy. Thank you, Mushroom. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. I wanted to look into some plants that keep mosquitoes away. Mosquitoes. I looked into them a couple of years ago, but I don't remember them. That's a good one. I have to remember that one. Let's see. Emerald Ivy.
Yeah, if people have house plants, right? It's kind of the gnats gnats, if they're coming from your house plants, that's a whole other issue. I think I heard people some say talk about diatomaceous earth also. It maybe inhibits the larva or something like that.
Mineral, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you put it in the soil and supposedly it fucks up their mouth parts or something so they can't eat properly.
We used to put it in our swimming pool filter. That's all I know about it. Got powdery and got everywhere.
Yeah, I think the idea it just messes up their mouth. It's like silica. But I would try to eliminate the sources, but I don't know if you got house plants, maybe that's something you can't get rid of.
I know where mine came from because we get them anywhere in the house, and I'm in a separate section of the house. There's no food, there's no anything down here. There is water. That's why I built this room, but there's no gnats in this place until I started growing in here. So they're coming specifically for things they can smell that I'm growing. They're not coming in from outside. So I'm thinking with the winter weather, it's going to really lower. I mean, I'm talking, a dozen a season. I've had a dozen on the little thing, and they're tiny. So I don't think they're doing that much, but maybe they can. I don't know. So anyways, that's.
Yeah, get little bugs too. There might not be gnats. Maybe there's different kinds of little flying bugs. Yeah.
They're little tiny, what they are. They're those little tiny things that fly in them.
Yeah. No seums or whatever.
I don't care what they're called. They're irritating. Don't like that. No, I don't like that. Let's see what Kim's saying here. We have a second chance club. Also, Oh, that's cool, Kim. Yeah. Oh, that I do the same thing. After I get anything that I don't like, I just take all my cakes and put them outside under the deck. Maybe next summer they'll grow. I'm sure they won't because they'll probably die over the winter, but you never know. Something might survive. But I'm gonna basically next season I'm gonna have more gardening going on, so I'm gonna be putting all my old cakes into raised garden beds just to let the nutrients soak into gardening growing. Because and then maybe a mushroom will pop up here and there. I don't really care. I can grow my mushrooms indoors, but it's still fun to see them. I mean, I always wondered if I had all my cakes in one thing, would all that moisture build one big fruit someday? Sorry, thoughts in my head.
Doubt.
Random thoughts on using vacuum versus pressure to hydrate old spores. Vacuum? I don't understand. Are you talking like the vacuum of the suction of a syringe? I've heard of people pulling back on the plunger of a syringe to break up spores, but also to soften the membrane of the shell of the spore. I've heard of that. I didn't think it would be anything that would work to hydrate them. You have any thoughts on that one, Ed?
I've heard the same thing. Yeah, people just leave the cap on the syringe and just
Yeah,
put it like this and put like weight on it or something. I
yeah,
don't know. I haven't really tried it. Usually when I'm having stubborn spores, I've been going to the water gel and gum, or I just give up. I don't know. I'm at the point now where I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into like old spores if they don't germinate on water agar, water gel and gum. Like I did have success today. I just saw a plate. I had this big pile of plates, and I put them on water agar, and they didn't germinate, which normally works because of the osmosis thing. And then I put some pure water on them about a week ago, and I saw today two of them start germinating. So there wasn't enough pure water in the plates, so I just put like some extra sterile water on there about a week ago, and yeah, it worked for two of them.
Oh, this is a
But as far
plate.
as pressure and stuff, I don't know. Maybe.
I took that thing you did the video of today. I did this the other day on the 20th. I had that thick halo and I had a bunch of little colonies. I did the same thing where I had them. A couple of them fell off to the side, but there was a pile of them right there. And then there's one over there. It was the thick, and it's starting to get fuzzy now, so they're growing.
Oh
But
yeah.
those were
Yeah, that
from
was something I assumed a lot of people did. I just wanted to make sure that maybe some new people. I mean, I know for people like us, it's probably pretty standard technique. A lot of
this was,
times I make videos just not because I'm like trying to be like, oh, look at this new thing I found. It's like, no, you don't even know. Like people that are coming to the hobby, they don't even like they don't understand some really things that we might do every day or every week. They
yeah,
just don't know.
yeah,
They
it's super.
come in and they see some YouTube video and it's just this isolated video and they don't have the experience. And we forget like when you first start in this hobby, it's really hard to find information.
I did a
You don't
grab
know where to look.
MK times Tat Black Cap. This was the grab and drag plate from the 21st of October. I've already pulled a few pewters, but they're already nice and colonized. The whole thing is beautiful. All nice and these then you can. They already combined by themselves. I didn't have to cut these into little pieces and put them on the plate. They've already dicaryatized on the plate, I'm sure. But yeah, I saw that. I was thinking of you when I saw your video this morning. I was like, I just did that the other day. That was so cool.
Yeah,
Man,
that's it. I just random thoughts. I just make video. You know, it doesn't take me
yeah,
much time because I don't
gotta
edit
start
or
making more
anything.
videos like that again. I've been doing the Sunday thing, so it's kind of like I keep forgetting. Go ahead, sorry, the screen just blanked out. Everybody back here?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not
there we
sure.
go.
It might be on your end, dude. I'm thinking because I'm getting I'm perfect. Like on my end, I can see myself, and I think it might be something on your end.
Yeah, it could easily be me. Yeah, could be me. Anyways, so you were saying? I don't remember what you were saying.
Oh, about the video today? Yeah, you make more videos.
Yeah,
Dude, there's a lot of shit videos on YouTube. We've gotten the mycology community has gotten better, but there's a lot of garbage, and it's like sometimes it's
I know.
okay.
I get
It's
videos
okay
that
if they're not.
30 to
People get
100.
back to this. They need to be perfection. Like they need to be perfect and stuff, and like they don't need to be. I learn more stuff from watching fucked up videos than I do. Like if it's a perfect video, I'll edit it in music and whatever. I don't know. I get like irritated sometimes when people put too much music in their videos. Like I feel like I'm watching a fucking VH1 behind the music. It's like, oh, this is the music your boyfriend plays, and now you like 20 out of 30 minutes of the video is you and your boyfriend's music, and it's like I don't really give a shit. Can you just show me the fucking video?
I tried adding music at the beginning of last Sunday and it fucked everything up. And you can't edit a live video. I haven't found out how, at least on YouTube. So the first 5 minutes sucks in my last week video. But yeah, I hate music too.
I just I don't I'm not, I'm watching YouTube for information. I'm not if I want to watch music, I'll look for music.
Yeah, well, it's
Like
like
don't force me to listen to your music while I'm trying to get information. Like it's like those fucking teachers who used to play like Bach or Beethoven. They're like, "Oh, you learn better when we play classical music." It's like, "No, I don't like classical music, you motherfucker. Can you turn the radio off?" Like I'm trying to study here. I'm not trying to learn classical music. Like this is distracting for me. Like
I know like a bunch of my early videos, they're not great. And I know they're not great, but I know there's some information that might help someone. That's why I'm not taking them down. I
mm,
know there's tons of mistakes in probably my first half of my videos. And I'll easily admit that, and I'll easily say I'm sorry if anybody tries them without continuing on and watching newer videos where I've learned and expanded my, processes and stuff. I make mistakes. I made a lot of them at the beginning, but there's still interesting info in some of them for things that I've tried that security trust. This is learn from my mistakes. I hope, because a lot of those things I did were mistaken. I learned from a bunch of different sources, and I made mistakes trying to experiment with things. Not experiment scientifically, but just try new things. That's why I don't take them down. Otherwise, I probably should, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave them for posterity. There's things
yeah.
I
I went
thought
through that phase too. After about 6 months, I was like, "Oh, I'll go back and I'll remake them." And then it's like, maybe not. Just make a new one.
one method. Everything is a learning process, and you can adjust your method without being
Mm.
wrong. And saying, it's like I used to use CVG with 1 cup of gypsum, and I was using plaster or whatever I had on hand. Now I use 1/3 of a cup, or between 1/8 and 1/3 of a cup of calcium carbonate, or whatever I happen to have. If I don't have that, I use regular calcium from gypsum or whatever. But I use a lot less now, just because I don't find it necessary. And before I used to love it because that's what everybody said. Now I don't think it
Mm.
makes a little bit of calcium's fine. Yeah. So,
I always just forget to add it.
well, I have a bag of it that I throw in sometimes just because it's there. Like you've done things in your show, you've said, like you added azomite for a test for a while because you had it. I do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I stopped doing that too.
Yeah,
Seems like unnecessary, but
I want to mess with that polysorbate stuff just for fun, anyways. Even not if I use it for mushrooms, I want to try it.
so acrylate.
Sorry,
Yep, that's a completely different thing.
poly,
Acrylate, polyacrylate.
polyacrylate.
Polysorbate is tween.
Yeah, that's good. I meant
Just-
that stuff. No.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just we should try to be careful because other
Polyacrylate.
people will get confused.
I confused.
I'm thinking I got to use less of it. I put in way too much, I think. Like I had it was probably like by the time it hydrated, it was probably half the volume of the substrate. I think it was like way too much.
Well, the thing I'm wondering is you do the overhydration thing where you squeeze out the water. You should be rinsing a lot of the sodiums out of your core before you're mixing it, right? Or do you mix it in with the water? No, you mix it in after you squeeze it, right?
So I mix it in with excessive water. So yeah, it should
So a lot
so
of
I
the
think it
sodium,
was the spawn.
yeah, with the spawn has too much sodium. Okay.
Y- y- uh, yeah, it's not necessarily sodium. It's just that can we just say salt? There's
Salt.
too much salt in
Salt,
the grain. Too many solutes. So the grain has like basically all kinds of sugars and whatnot in it. I think that's what's pulling the water out of the acrylate, the polyacrylate.
Yeah.
So it's fully hydrated when it's like sitting there in the pot, but when I mix it with the grain, it's pulling out some of the water from that
Maybe
polyacrylate.
a lot of me did. So then it's just core on top of it, and then as the mycelium colonizes through the core, maybe it'll just use its little mycelium to suck the water.
That's what I didn't I tried dumping some of it out of one of the I've got 4 or 5 shoe boxes that it did it, and two of them didn't really do it, and I think it's because it was on the top of the
Yeah.
pot, and as I got down, the stuff was more hydrated. So I think it's just experimentation. I just have to add less. I added like probably way too much of the polyacrylate. I
Yeah.
think I'm maybe like a quarter of what I added.
I
is
ordered 150
I've
grams.
never used this stuff till like 2 weeks ago, so I this is all just brand new experimentation. Like everybody was asking me on a Facebook post, like, how much do I add? And I don't know. I really don't know.
Ordered 150 grams to play with. I figured that should be plenty to do a lot of experiments with. And if I don't like it, I didn't waste that much. But
So this is one of those classic examples of like more was not better.
yeah,
More is not always better. There's a sweet spot that I'm gonna find, and it's so that'll be different also for my quar, my verm. Like somebody was asking today about do you use what size verm? They have different size verm. I have the 2 to 4 millimeter, this 3 to 6 millimeter, the 4 to 8 millimeter. Like there's different size of verm. There's different brands of quar. Whether you're using a block quar or using ground up quar, it's there's a lot of different variables. I know a lot of people like to have these like recipes and stuff, but it just doesn't work like that.
well, I know that's like the recipe of the CBD I put up. I put 2 to 4 millimeter vermiculite because that's what I use. I like 2 millimeter. Well, two to four. Most it seems like it's two, but yeah, I've had the same problem where you get the 1 millimeter and it hydrates totally different than the 4 millimeter.
Hmm.
Everything's different. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I was thinking with
Yeah.
that the polyacrylate, I could use it and if I run out of like diaper tech, I could put it in a little bottom a shoebox at the bottom of my tent as like a water supply just to keep moisture in the air.
Yeah,
If I
that's what I was wondering too. I'm trying to pop some cannabis seeds in it too, and it seems to be dehydrating quite quickly. Which is kind of weird because I thought it would pretty much stay jelly, but I noticed the volume. I put some in a clear cup, and the volume in like 3 or 4 days is probably shrunk. It's probably shrunk down a good half inch, and I'm kind of surprised. So it might be good for releasing water. The thing I like about the diapers is they're self-contained, and so they're very easy. So one of the main reasons I fucking hate perlite, it's just so messy. So if you go to straight like granular polyacrylate, you're gonna
yeah,
have basically the same problem as I had with perlite. I fucking hate perlite. That shit it's just a mess. So I wouldn't use loose polyacrylate for water.
no, you're not gonna just
Um,
throw it all in the bottom and spray water down.
no, you can if you want.
No, I'm
I'm
joking.
not going to.
No, I was thinking
I'm
like
gonna use a
I
diaper.
got a
I
little
think that's
heater.
why. Hmm. So your situation
Kid,
might be
yeah,
different.
I know I
Yeah,
got.
if you've got a heater or something, then that might be a different situation.
It's a 40 or 30 watt heater. It was a $5 little like plug in the wall type heater that you put under your
Mm.
desk to keep your feet warm. Very, very low power. Barely puts
Oh.
out maybe 100-degree air. It's very low, and I just keep that in the bottom running, and it keeps the tent at 72 degrees, which is fine. And the humidity is at 95%. But yeah, and I have a little. I do have a humidifier in there because my house is 30% normally, so I had to raise it up a little bit. And the diapers are only getting me up to about maybe 80%. So I run a little humidifier 3 times a day, kicks on for 20 minutes. Just something. Why not? What it does basically, I've noticed mostly, is it just keeps my diapers moist rather than letting them dry out as quick. It keeps those moist than it does get water anywhere else. But so hopefully that'll work. But I was thinking a little
Hmm.
shoebox full of the polyacrylate sitting in the corner near the heater might be nice. It will just blow the water off slowly.
Could be. I would just put more diapers.
Yeah, but I only have one little 4 shelf unit in there, so I can only put 4 of them. Stuck
Oh,
hanging from the
so
wall.
you have them on. Oh, you have them on every shelf.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I've
But
seen some people they'll have like a 4 shelf Martha tent and they put like one diaper in the bottom, and that's not enough.
oh no, I got 2 of them aren't in right now because I just put it together yesterday. So I got to add more diapers in there because they're upstairs because I washed them. All right, I don't use that. I use those ShamWows, but I washed them and cleaned them real nice, and I have them soaking. And I just forgot to bring them
So
down.
you might want to try actual diapers. This is why I didn't use
Yeah, I got those.
ShamWows, because they're not gonna release as much water as a diaper.
Oh, okay. See, I'm finding they're getting dry too quick. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah, but
So
I
that
think it's the amount of water in there is probably not that much. Like my diapers, hydrated and unhydrated, they absorb like 20 times the amount of water. Like I don't think a chamois is gonna
well,
hold that much water.
shampoo, you actually have to. What I found is like you have to soak it instead of just pouring water on it. So if you get like a bucket of water and soak them for a minute, that's how you got to hydrate them. So just spraying them or pouring a bottle of water, it's not the way to do it. You got to actually soak them, and that's what I'm working with, trying to
Mm.
get one of those on every shelf. But I got diapers too. I can throw some of those and try them. Whatever. Either way.
Mm. I get a 4x8 10 and it's at like constantly. I don't have any. I actually have my fan that comes on for 5 minutes every 2 hours, new air. I open the door probably 5 times a day, and all I have in there is diapers, 12 diapers. It's like literally always at or above 90%. Like I'm kind of fascinated by like how well it works.
I know
Like it
mine.
just works remarkably well, but they're the proper diapers. I know you're like trying to like, innovate whatever use new things and stuff, but I just find that diapers so easy. And they're like, for me, they're like a quarter a piece, and I change them like every 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like $5 every 2 weeks. And like when they get dirty, I just throw them
Sweet.
away. Like I
Yeah.
don't wash them, I don't soak them. I just like I put them on there dry and I pour a liter and a half of water on them, and then it sits there for 2 weeks. And if it gets dirty, sometimes I rehydrate them once in a while. And then once the edge starts getting brown and crusty, I just fold them up and throw them away and put a new one down. It takes like a minute.
Oh yeah. No,
It's
the reason
really, really convenient. Like,
because inside shoe boxes with small little containers in there. That's what I mostly came up with the idea for was you cutting up a diaper, you end up with all this stuff floating around the air, or all the stuff falls out. That's why I did it was to find that smaller version for inside of like a shoe box to sit at the bottom of a shoe box to keep the moisture in the bottom with a smaller container inside.
oh, oh,
The
oh,
shoebox
oh.
being basically you make your shoebox
Mm.
and then put a small tray grow inside of a shoebox. It's for the mini grows mostly. It's not.
I
I
did that. Yeah, I did that too. What I did is I just folded the diaper in half
yeah, I
or a
tried.
quarter. So I don't, yeah, you're right. When you open the diapers or like incontinence pads, all the shit starts falling out of them. So I just
Well,
folded it up.
but it worked a little bit. I'm getting good lucks, and in the shoe boxes, I have great lucks with the chamois. They keep the moisture in there perfect, 90% plus at all
Mm.
times. You don't have to rehydrate them. Maybe every few weeks they get a little dry, but they're still wet. But in big situations, I haven't had much experience. So, like I said, I just got it going yesterday, the day before. We'll see. But I'll add more diapers. I got them. And some questions.
Different diapers too are gonna have different capabilities of hydrating.
Yeah, you need the
Yeah.
super thick ones for super wetters, super bed wetters.
Sure, I'm lucky the brand I use fits like perfectly on a Martha tent shelf, like a 40, I think they're 40 by 70, and it fits like to within a half inch of the end. It's like perfect. It's like they were made for the fucking thing. Like
Do
it's
you
like
find your humidity level ever drops if you cover, like if you put too many shoe boxes on them?
no.
No, okay. Because I was wondering if I covered them, like if I put too much on top of them, would that stop the moisture from escaping?
No, you can see in one of my videos like what I did. It's there's still enough area around. So I'll put three of my shoe boxes on one shelf, and there's still a pretty good gap between the shoe boxes as well as on all the sides.
Yeah, they
And a
always,
lot of times I don't have the shelves 100% full. So what I'll do is if I normally put three shoe boxes, if there's room, I'll take the middle one out. So that big middle place where the shoe box would be covering it is actually open.
do you ever worry about spore droppers in your tent or dropping on other cakes? Does that hurt the other cakes or fruits, or just besides looks, not really?
N- so there's like three questions there.
No.
do, do I worry about it? No, because I usually get them before they drop.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them going on other cakes. The only thing I'm worried about is if they're going to contaminate like the other spores because I'm getting swabs.
Okay.
So I will, if I have a spore dropper like I harvested a albino A plus earlier, I'm not worried about the other shoe boxes because none of them have anything near that's open caps. But if I had an albino that was maturing and the caps were opening at the same time as a spore dropper, I remove the spore dropper and I put it in another Martha tent.
Good
Or I
thinking.
plan it so I like sometimes I'll wake up at early in the morning. Like if there's a spore dropper in there and I know it's about to drop spores, like I'm watching that fucking thing like a hawk. Because as
Mhm.
soon as those first caps open, I'm ripping those caps, cutting those caps off. I'm getting my spores. And after I get my 30 swabs, all of that shit's going on the dryer. It's out. Like I'm getting that spore dropper out of the tent as quickly as possible. If I have another albino in there, I have actually sacrificed entire shoe boxes that were immature because I wanted to get them out of the tent because I don't want them to contaminate my albino spores. So
Oh,
for me, it's about swabs. I don't really care about aesthetics or them like hurting the other fungi because they don't. I'm worried about the purity of my spores because I don't want to send off some fucking ape spores to somebody and it pops up a GT,
or
right? Because my so and I check my swabs too just because I'm OCD. If I see anything that's like, wow, like, oh, that one spore dropper opened up, and it might be 6 feet away. You know, I got an 8 foot 10. It might be 6 feet away on the top shelf, and that. So the other thing, if I got spore droppers, I put them down on the bottom shelf right next to the door. So when I do pull it out, I just need to kind of reach in there and pull it out real quick, and it's not like, hopefully sending spores all over the tent.
okay.
I'm not too worried about it, to be honest. It's about timing.
Oh yeah.
But I know a lot of people aren't really as good about that. Like if you go away for the weekend and you got like 3 spore droppers in there and you're gonna come back to a mess.
No, I check mine 2, 3 times a day at least. But I was just curious because I have like that albino Louis Vuitton. I saw some spores on the stipe. It's not a heavy dropper, I don't think, because it's wide open, not dropping. I just didn't know if I should take it out, but I'm not really
Oh,
concerned about.
an albino Louis Vuitton?
Sorry, just Louis Vuitton. Sorry, it just Louis
Okay,
Vuitton.
okay, yeah, okay. I was gonna say you didn't see any
I was
spores in them.
I got a jar that says albino Louis Vuitton on it, but it's fun.
Oh, I know. I think I knew what you meant. I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure you
that,
knew
that
what
food
you
I
meant.
showed. It there's not many spores, but it's open and got a little bit on the stipe.
Hmm.
But I'm just curious
Yeah,
too
I just grew
for
up Louis Vuitton too. It
other
it
cakes that I'm just fruiting just for
drops
fun, just
spores.
for
If you're not selling spores, I don't think you need to worry about it. Even I don't know. There's the spores are going to be if you're swabbing, the spores are going to be so dilute in the air compared to what's on the gills. But I don't want to have ever any problem. Like
no,
yeah,
especially if you're
I
vending.
just
I
try to
agree,
make
but
make sure.
yeah, I make
I
a
mean,
lot
I
of
bet
cakes
one
myself.
spore out of probably the 100,000 that are on a swab is probably not a big deal. But I've looked under the microscope before, like when I ripped off pieces of swab to test to see if the spores were mature or whatever. And one time, like about 6 months ago, I saw one brown spore in there, and I was like, "Fuck!" And then I just threw away the whole fucking shoebox.
Well, the chances of getting that one spore on that plate and that field of view.
It's like infinitesimal. It's like the chances of me getting picked to be the first person to go to Mars. It's not gonna happen. But it freaked me out enough where I was like, "Fuck this tub." Fuck this shoebox. I just threw it all away. I harvested the fruit, put them on the dryer, and I didn't get any spores from it.
But yeah, most of my stuff I grow is just for looks, just to see what the culture looks like. But I was just curious about that if the spores can affect the cakes or anything. Because I've heard stupid comments like it signals them to
So
stop
that
dropping, stop
was
growing.
I think that's
Things I've seen.
complete and utter old wives' tale.
Yeah,
So
that's
this is
why
one of those again correlation, not causation. So the reason why your second flush is not as good as your first flush is because the mushrooms have sucked all the moisture out of the substrate. Your substrate is getting weak, your mycelium is getting weak, and people will be like, "Oh, well, I got spore all over my cake. It must mean they're inhibiting my." No,
done. It
doesn't
thinks it's
doesn't do anything that I know of. And I don't think that doesn't really kind of make sense out in nature either. Like these
because it would
aren't
be
like
going.
they
They would.
it's
Anyways,
these are the plant people again bringing so they call it allotropism or allopathic whatever. Like black walnut tree, if you see a black walnut tree, it drops all the black walnuts on there and it inhibits the plants under that black walnut tree, right? That's
so
what we call allopathy. Like, yes, there is shit in black walnuts that will fucking kill other plants or inhibit them. Spores aren't really like that. Like, so
So
the
you
plant
know,
people get these ideas from plant and they think that like, oh, because my cake, no, it's whatever. It's a error. Again, it's like correlation, but not causation.
oh, I had somebody ask me a question about using wood besides Mike here. I think might have been Mike too. Um, Say you don't have access to cocoa core, could you use wood pellet or sawdust the same exact way as core? Kind
Oh
of.
hell yeah. The best cubes grow I ever had was on cottonwood sawdust.
Okay. Yes, Mike.
Yep.
Go.
Problem is it might be a bit lacking in the nitrogen level, not for the alkaloids, but just because I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I haven't used it in a long time. Should be okay if you use enough spawn. See the problem, so I grew it on sawdust one time and I got a lot of mushrooms and they were quite big, but they weren't very potent. And I think the reason for that was because the mycelium actually colonized the sawdust, but there just wasn't enough nitrogen in there for it to make the potency because the alkaloids need nitrogen. And I think there just wasn't, like, I used like a half a grain, like a half a jar back in the day when I used grain jars. I might have used like half a quart jar for like, I don't know, like a fucking garbage bag full of like sawdust, and it colonized and everything, and I got a lot of mushrooms. It's just they weren't very strong, not enough nitrogen.
Closer ratio if you use wood probably might help.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you use like a master's mix with like soy hulls, that might work better.
Or even grain.
There's all
Wheat.
this, I mean, there's 1,000 different substrate recipes, but yeah, you can most definitely use like sawdust. You just
Maybe
might have to put some more nitrogen in it if you're gonna expand, like if you're gonna take one jar of spawn and expand it a bunch like the gourmet people do. You might want to like have some supplements in that sawdust.
cool. Yeah, someone had asked me about that because they couldn't get core. Might have been. I got a new friend in India. He was asking me about it. Um, I'm sure he can get core, but he was asking me about wood instead of. Might have been him. Might have been another guy. There was a couple people that asked me about
You can
alternatives to
use
core.
anything.
Yeah.
Straw,
Yeah. Okay.
you can go really really good cubes off straw, but again, you probably want to put extra grain spawn in there because the problem is they might just be weaker. I don't know. So it's not necessarily that about it's that the fruit will get really really big, but that you're diluting the alkaloids. So per mass, per dried biomass, the alkaloids are going to be so much more diluted.
Never.
Like if you ever grown gourmets, like you can get like hericium off of pure grain spawn, but they're going to be tiny, small. And so if you take that same amount of good stuff in the hericium or your psilocybe or whatever, and you make the fruit body 5 times bigger, you're just diluting the alkaloids, you know. So it's kind of deceptive. So per dried biomass, they're gonna seem weak.
I got some hericium right here on on my grain that's growing. I can't get the picture to come in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Little bodies on top. So I just put the jar in the tent just to see what happened.
So if you like ate those, they would probably be full of all that good stuff, right? It's like aborts, you know, they're really, really full of the good stuff. But
I was
you
thinking of
know,
putting
you
this mixed as is, even though there's fruits on it. I don't know if that would affect it.
say again, you want to use that
I
this.
was still thinking of using this grain as not for on master's mix just to grow it, even
Oh,
though
I
it's
think
starting.
you can.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'll put
You
that.
can just rip off the fruit bodies because, you know, the mixing them is going to be kind of dirty. You know, if
It'll,
you're throwing like fruit in there, they'll probably just rot.
yeah. So
I
I
would
was
just
thinking
try to get rid of the fruit that's, you know, you don't want to throw like mushrooms in there that's going to rot.
that, yeah. Well, I thought I'd start fruiting. I was like, well, I'll just put it in there, let it fruit on its own, see what happens. We'll see. Maybe I'll
Mm.
throw it in core or something too. Add some wheat or wheat grain. Heck of that
Oh, the
stuff. I got
bran,
wheat
wheat
bran.
bran.
Yeah, I'll put some of that in some core and see if it grows.
Hmm. Yeah, I think somebody, I saw a recipe, something like that. Yeah, wheat bran. I forgot it wasn't coir. They were using some other thing. It's all these substrates. I mean, you just got to figure out which one works best for your species.
So he's asking, what is the stuff that sucks up all the water you put in your substrate? Or you believe it's either
Yeah,
vermiculite or polyacrylate.
yeah, that's the sodium, or you can get potassium polyacrylate also.
So,
Not acrylamide, acrylate. Yeah, I'll write it in the chat. I think I can write in the chat.
have you ever tried
So it'll be
cutting
cheaper if you try to find it by the name, the chemical name, it'll be cheaper. Sodium polyacrylate. If you try to, like it's Orbeez, it's just Orbeez basically. The same shit in water beads, water gels, Orbeez, it's all the same thing. But if you find it listed as sodium polyacrylate, it'll be a lot cheaper.
the stuff I found was listed as diaper absorbent.
Yeah, super absorbent something.
Polyacrylate, but same stuff. I went by the name you posted, so I found that.
Yeah, if you look for the chemical name, it'll probably be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I got 150 grams for I think $9 shipped. So, have you ever tried cutting the incontinence pad and filling it with grain spawn? I have never thought of putting grain spawn in a diaper. No, I thought of taking a picture on a bag, but
I did it last week. Yeah, it's just hard to do. It's because the grain spawn. It's kind of like the diaper inside of the diaper. It's just hard to work with once it gets wet. And I'd be careful because remember the diaper is gonna suck away the moisture. So I actually put hydrated. I just basically, instead of using a liner, I use the diaper as a liner. It was somebody's idea. I forgot who. I thought about it before, but I remember now I actually did it before. It's really not good because the absorbent. I mean, imagine it basically turned into a shitty diaper. If you've ever changed a baby's diaper, it's what it looked like.
Or not melting.
Yeah,
it
it's just
soft.
Yeah, it was just like a big shitty diaper that was hard to work with. I'm gonna stick with other methods for. I'll just use them with diapers for the tent.
I got some adult diapers from my mom was sick, and they're normal size human diapers. I was going to take a grain bag or a bag of growing mushrooms and put it in there and send it to you as a meme just to show people diaper tech. The grow bag. A little mini diaper.
I would if you had cheap access to any kind of diaper. I think you can come up with a way. Yeah. If you've got adult diapers and you can cheaply get them, use them.
Yeah, I got tons of them. Don't ask me why, but it's easy. My mother was sick and my dad used them. That's why. He's old. Let's see. How do you?
Yeah, we'll all be there at some point. I saw something the other day about when men get older, they get blocked up, and women they leak.
I learned something the other day. My father is 75. He just turned 75, and he's healthy pretty much, but he's got not incontinence, but just issues with prostate, as all men get. Did you know? I didn't know this. The prostate actually, the urethra grows through the prostate. It's not against the prostate. His doctor was telling him. I don't know how true this is.
Yeah, my friend is having problems with his prostate. Right? Everybody, I guess. No, I kind of purposely have not looked into it.
Well, me neither. But I'm hearing about it just because it's what happens when you have elder parents. But
yeah, I think
I guess it's like a donut. It goes through it.
Yeah, that's what he says. He has trouble peeing and
not my father's physical things.
Yeah, I know he has trouble.
But he got some medication and taken care of it.
Yeah, I did some of the tests.
Well, I guess the urologist gave him some medication, and I guess they have like a basic course that they give people at a certain age. You get this, then this, then this, then this. If this doesn't work, they go to the next thing. Well, the first one he took, he's been sleeping through the night without having to go pee. He's been having less pressure, so apparently it's working. So I'm happy for him, of course. But so that's why I'm getting all this information, because I'm learning about it. But I didn't know. I didn't think talking about diapers. It's just that's why I have so many diapers around us, because that's part of my life.
So this is good. It says the prostate mixes the fluid with sperm from the testicles to create semen. Okay, that's what I heard. If you like jerk off quite often, it helps.
There's a technical way that nurses can milk the prostate to get semen samples from men, and there's lots of.
Yeah, I think I had a girl do that to me one time. It was quite nice.
Yeah, I've seen it. That girl's the same thing. Like when you're taking a good
Oh,
dump.
I miss that girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't a nurse though, but
There's a
sometimes
dry.
she dressed like it.
Oh, that's too bad, Mike. They got wet. You could have grabbed them. Oh, you got some. Oh, okay. Tractor Supply threw away a bunch of wood stove pellets because they got wet. Yeah, as long as you sterilize them. Make them.
Yeah, for sure. If they were wet, man, you're gonna make damn sure you sterilize the fuck out of them.
Or bake them
Like,
first for a few hours to get them really, really dry again. Then moisturize them and sterilize them again. I would do a lot of that.
God, I would just sterilize those fucking things for hours. Cause I've used straw that was too old. I've used like vermiculite that was like wet in the bottom, coir that was wet in the bottom. If something's been sitting on a loading dock or something get wet, like I don't know, it might not even be worth your time.
A lot of them are dry. Well, pick out the good dry ones. If they're dry, they're still dry because they're pellets, so they're pretty much pressed. Once they start getting wet, they're going to expand. Anyway. Okay, Justin, I have an older swab from an albino. That's nice. Just kidding. I wonder, since they are translucent, would I be able to see if it had spores on the microscope? Yes. I don't know. Every time I look at albino spores, they look like little circles around clear circles. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I can see my clear spot.
Yeah. Ellipsoid, there's a bunch of different terminology. Everything from oval to globose to ellipsoid to lancet. There's a bunch of different words. There's a whole series of like 15 different words, basically going from a circle to more like a rod shaped, depending on. Yeah. Yes, Justin, you should, even if they're old, you should be able to see them fine.
Yeah, they're translucent. They're not invisible. I know a lot of people keep saying they have invisible spores. It's not invisible.
Yeah, yes, it's funny. So you could say the fancy word is hyaline. It's translucent or but they're not clear. Like clear is not really the right word either. They're slightly, I think translucent maybe is the best word. It's like when you look through glass or something, it's not like you can still see there's glass there, right? It's not transparent. So the difference between transparent and translucent, and things like that, opaque and whatever, it's kind of like a scale, but I think translucent might be the best word. But you're still going to see the edge, right? It's going to be like a clear bubble. Like you're still going to see the spore. They're not going to be invisible. So that might be somebody who doesn't have a microscope. They'll be like, "Oh, the spores are invisible on my swab," or whatever. But that they're not invisible.
You can't see them on a white swab. I mean,
yeah.
You can't really see them if they're colored swabs or spores unless you're getting a lot of them. Yeah, I guess you could see the colored ones.
You can very easily see translucent albino spores
on a microscope slide. Yes, absolutely. I've seen them
very, very easily.
Yep. Give it a shot either way. If you don't see them, then probably don't have anything. But if you see little, I call them like little acorns without the caps. You know how an acorn looks with little. That's what I think of them. Right?
Yeah.
They look like little acorns.
Rip a little piece of the swab off. So Justin, take a microscope slide and then put like a tiny, tiny drop of water on it. And then rip off a piece of the cotton swab and just put it right in there. Like just 2 or 3 pieces near the side, where somebody would have swabbed it. There'll probably be some blue coloration on there. Like just rip off like the tiny, like maybe 5 strands of the cotton and put it in that drop. And you should see a bunch of spores. Make sure you put a cover slip and flatten it down. Yeah, you should see hundreds of spores, not thousands.
When I first got my microscope, I didn't buy a new one because I got it secondhand, like everything I have, pretty much. First thing I did was take a couple swabs and put them, pull them out, put them on swabs. I saw some translucent, some brown ones, some rusty ones. I haven't seen much for purple. Everybody keeps saying they're purple, but they look brown to me.
So psilocybe spores go everywhere from black to brown to golden halo. That's people looking in books and looking at the description like purple brown. Psilocybe is purple brown, and it's not really. They're not really. It depends on what particular kind of isolate you're looking at. They can look anywhere from black to brown.
But they're definitely fun to look at. They're fun to find. Good morning, Kat. How are you? Feeling better today? Let's see. I'm pro. I'm planning on doing an experiment with a 6-year-old print I made. Why are you printing children? No, I'm just kidding. Straight to water. Okay, I gotta read that a couple times. I don't know. I don't understand that at all, Ampro. Ed, do you understand that question?
I think so. I think he's talking about putting them in some kind of container and pressurizing it or vacuum. I'm not sure. I would just put them in water, let them sit overnight, and then put them on water agar. That's what I would do. But again, I haven't really tried that. If things don't germinate, I just move on. Like I got better things to do than try.
Yeah.
But like if you're putting them in water, so here's a little trick somebody mentioned that I've never tried is try to put like a tiny, tiny little dab of polysorbate tween this soap in there. It might permeabilize the spore kind of wall and might allow them to absorb some water. There's the pressure thing. I don't really know if pressure works or not. And then I would try also water agar and low nutrient agar. It seems like not everything works better on water agar or water gelen. And I would try also water gelen gum. I've got a lot better results on water gelen. There's something different about the polysaccharides in water and gelen gum. And somebody else was mentioned this gelidium gum the other day. There's different types of things you could try to germinate spores on. There's a lot of gelling agents. Some of them might have more available water, and then you're back to that kind of osmosis thing. That like
Yeah.
you make sure they're like low, so certain gels might have more accessible water to the spore.
Yep.
So
Well,
yeah,
that don't.
but strict.
They basically spores just sit on there and they don't do anything. And I've had other plates that just colonize. Like this was a water agar. I already took some out of it, but it was that big halo again. This was the grab and drag, and it germinated within I don't know, a couple days. This is old now. They don't grow very big, little colonies. They just stay small on the water agar. That's like easy.
Yeah, that's
This
the
was
brilliant thing about water eggers. It's they you need to get them onto new plates, right? I think that's one thing maybe people don't quite know is that like you, because I didn't really know it, is that like you gotta when you germinate them on water egger, you have to get them onto another plate for them to grow properly.
well, they just
That,
sit
but
there.
the idea is that like they're trying to get them separated for the contaminants or whatever it might be.
I know I did take a little bit of T0 and I transferred that thick halo T0 to, or the spores germination onto a regular plate. And I also took a chunk and threw it in grain from water agar to see what would happen, to see if it would maybe jump to the nutrient on the grain quicker. Just a thought, but who knows? But yeah, I have plates like this.
Oh, it will. It should. I did it too.
It's colonizing.
Oh yeah,
But it was the reason I
I've
did it was to see
used.
what. But it was T0 water agar I threw into a piece of or into a jar of grain, and it's colonizing. So that was kind of neat. But yeah.
Yeah, I've done that a bunch of times. There's no reason to like waste that T0 plate. If it looks good and there's enough mycelium on there, just throw it in grain.
Yeah, it was like, you know how grab and drag, get the little spots, the colonies. Well, what I did is I grabbed a chunk that had like 4 colonies. I threw it onto a new agar plate, and then I took another chunk of that same piece and threw it into grain, and it's colonizing. So let's see what happens. Hopefully, dicariotized before it's done. I'm sure it will. I mean,
Oh, 100% it will. It'll dicarietize as soon as it will. You don't need to worry about it dicariotizing. It'll 100% dicarietize.
sometimes you hear things and you think, oh well, maybe it's not going to dicarietize, and I'll have 4 monos sitting in there. It doesn't make any sense.
Nah, that's not going to happen.
Really? Sorry.
After your first break and shake, it'll all be dicariotized.
Oh, I was thinking that was a question I had about Daimon in a bag or Daimon in a jar or whatever. What if say I put 2 things and they're not necessarily touching in the jar or in the bag until they meet, or you break and shake, they're not going to dicariotise. You know, yeah. Never mind. I answered my own question. Yeah. Okay. But anyways, let's see if anybody else has anything to say.
Yeah, I don't worry about the time. People, when I first started doing this, I worried about like the time, or sometimes I'd throw both of the pieces in and make sure they were touching at first. I don't even pay attention to it anymore. I just throw them in the fucking bag and mash it up, and I don't even really pay attention to what they're doing, the timing and all that. That I don't know how much it really matters.
I just put them in jars and I let them. I make sure I have the sample on the side so I can see it because I don't use bags for spawn that much, and I can see the. I usually put two like maybe 3/4 inch squares or circles. I get them down on the sides, maybe on the bottom, so I can see them. And then as soon as they start growing deep, like the psyllium gets deep into the grain, like an inch or so in, then I break it up a little bit. But until it gets a nice, good amount of colonizing off the agar, because what happens, like the agar, I have some, you can watch the agar and it gets fuzzy around the edges because it's usually, just agar, and then it gets fuzzy as the mycelium incorporates the agar and then jumps off to the grain. It's kind of a cool process to watch. So that's what I watch for. I think I got.
Yeah, oh, it's fascinating, man. I can still remember the first jar of grain spawn I ever grew. It was like, holy shit, I can't believe this working. But as far as that, like the timing and stuff, I think people like focus on that a little bit too much. Maybe I don't think it really matters all that much. I don't know. Depends. A lot of times I hear constantly the gourmet people talking about like pre-adapting their mycelium, and people worry about this like day or two that it takes the grain spawn to adapt, or that you got a chunk of agar, and they're like worry about this extra day that it takes for the mycelium to jump onto the grain. And it's like, I don't know, man. If you're doing enough volume and got enough projects going, like you don't even notice that day. Like, oh God, it took an extra day for my agar chunk to jump to the grain. Like when you've got 30 bags of grain or jars, like you don't even notice that stuff anymore. Like,
I know that albino Normac you sent me on Suave. I put that on plates, and then now it's jumping off the. That's how it gets. It gets a little fuzzy on it, and then after that, it'll start jumping off to the rest of the grains. But actually, looks better than the picture showing. But yeah, I just put little chunks like that in, and then the ape redo that you sent me from Dichotomous or whatever his gem. That's actually clean. It just looks funny in the picture. Anyways.
Yeah, some of the popcorn kernels turn out weird black when you cook them.
Yeah, I pressure cooked them for like 4 hours. They're dark, but they work.
Yeah.
Nice yellow, soft. I'm gonna start rehydrating my corn a little more because I want to get that yellow, softer corn look that people get. My corn's always dark when I'm done with it. I don't know why. It colonizes just fine. It grows just fine. It's just dark.
Some brands are different.
I
noticed that.
I don't know. Everything's clean. I clean my jars before I pressure. I wash everything. Everything's clean. I think I'm drying them out. Like, they're actually not as bad as they look on the camera. The camera sucks, but yeah. So they are dark though. I noticed that they're not split. So I'm gonna start. I've been doing that forced hydration in a pressure cooker for these, and it works great. I do 20, 25 minutes. I'm gonna step it up to 27 minutes because I went up to like 24. So I'm gonna go up a few more minutes and see how that does. But I got a new pressure cooker coming, so I'm waiting to do a lot of pressure or sterilizing. I'm getting a 18 liters autoclave style instead because mine sucks.
Oh, one of the taller ones.
So that should help solve any issues. No, it's. I have one that's like a Presto made by Tefal. Made by Tefal, and it's not holding steam inside as well as it used to. And the new gaskets don't work that well. So I found it's like one of those. It looks like an All-American with the screws around the top and the release valves and everything with the electric circuit in it. It was relatively inexpensive, so family members buying it for me for Christmas. So I said sure.
Yeah, I almost bought one of those too.
Yeah, it runs at 17 or 18 psi, 260 degrees, 58, 60 degrees. So that should take care of any sterilizing issues I might have with my pressure cooker. So I'm kind of holding off on making anything else in the pressure cooker until I get that. It'll be here tomorrow. I saw the shipping. Tracking. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. Oh, let's see. We got a question here. Why isn't water agar used? Yeah, it is. Well, not the and cleaning and other things. You can use it for a lot of different things. Germinating spores, for cleaning cultures, for anything you don't want nutrient in. That's what you can pretty much what I get from it.
Yeah, you can use it, like you said, you can use it for anything. It doesn't. It's just you're not going to get these big fat rhizomorphic growths off it.
It turns out really wispy. Like it's hard to sometimes you can't even hardly see it until it starts growing out pretty much halfway.
But then you can also go the opposite end too if you put too much nutrients. So low nutrient, like say 1% LME, that's normally where you're going to see the kind of nice rhizomorphic growth that everybody likes. But if you go too high, like 2%, and you put peptone and some whatever else in their yeast, sometimes it'll just be like fuzzy little pillows, and you're like, oh, that doesn't look right. So there's like, again, like a sweet spot, like more is not better. And it really will depend, I think, on all your ingredients and your percentages, and it's fun to play with. Do you face issues with staple? Oh, okay, I would. Some people I forgot. Like some people are like, you should read it because they're not looking at the computer. Do you face issues with stapled grain bags and PC where the air inside expands and moves other stacked bags around? No, I don't. Is the weight on top of the bags the only way around this? I don't know the only way, Samuel, but yes, I put a plate, a fairly heavy dinner plate on top of the bags. I don't do it because they're going to move around. I do it so that the plastic bags don't go up into the air ports for the pressure cooker. If you block one of your air ports for the pressure cooker, you're going to have a bad day. So yeah, put something on top of it to weight them down. And my bags are normally packed in tight enough where they're not like gonna move around. I usually put a single layer. I have a 30-liter pressure cooker, and I try to put them one layer, maybe two, and then on top of that second layer, I put a plate.
Do you staple your bags before you put them in? Who's asking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I don't staple mine, but
6 staples across the top.
oh, okay.
But my bags don't have air filters.
No.
Yeah, so there's no place for the air escape, but I fold it down. This is something everybody's got to figure out their own. Like I fold mine down usually 6 times, 6 or 8. It depends. You get like a little technique, and it depends on how good of a grip you get on in that first and second and third fold. You got to kind of develop, you got to like train your fingers a little bit. It's a little bit tricky at first because it's plastic and it's wet fingers and it's slippy. But yeah, I normally try to get about 6 folds on it, and then I staple it 6 times across the top. But that's for a 12-inch bag. If I was using like a 6-inch bag, maybe I'd only put 3 staples in it. So yeah, you got to figure it out for your own, depending on your bag. Also, like how much grain do you put in the bag? You know, there's a lot of variables there.
Yeah, I found some bags like I use they need to have a certain amount of grain in them to even fold properly, or else you end up not folding them right. If you put too little, like a 10 size bag, and put half pound of grain in it, you got to put a certain amount.
Right, especially when those bags are costing you 50 cents a piece. Yeah. You don't want to see my bags are literally, I buy them by the kilo. Like I get probably 100 bags for about $3. So I don't really give a shit if I cook a pound of grain and I use 6 bags or 2 bags or 10 bags. I don't really give a shit. The bag cost is irrelevant. Yeah. But if you're buying unicorn bags that cost 50 cents a piece, that's another consideration.
Yeah, I'm still happy with my jars. I know they're dangerous, but I can't get bags to work properly in my setup for some reason. I don't know why. My impulse sealer I tried using kept leaving holes, and then stapling I've tried. I just keep running out of staples every time I'm doing work.
So you're talking about spawn bags or grow for growing?
Spawn bags, both. I just
okay,
no
so
growing.
All those comments I just made were in relation to spawn bags, grain bags, because he's talking about grain bags. Those were all comments regarding grain bags for spawn, not grow bags. Just so nobody misunderstands what I just said, or you don't get misquoted. That was stapled grain bags is for spawn. If you're talking about grow bags, I don't use grow bags. So that's a totally different topic.
I use these grow bags now. These are the ones I use. They got for grow bag for spawn to bulk. These are nice. They got a double patch. They're
Mm.
just a unicorn bag, but they got a patch on both sides. So there's actually two patches.
Yeah, those are nice.
These I got from Olympus Mic. Yeah, Olympus Myco.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, I saw also in some of the European countries, they have these like ones that have like circle filters around the whole bag.
Oh yeah, they have some of these like with long square patches as well. But I've seen what you're talking
Yeah.
about. How the whole roll of bags has
Yeah.
on it. I like those. Saw
So
another
how
guy with
much do those bags cost a piece?
that bag of they're not cheap. I think this was 25 bags or 50, 25 bags was like they're not cheap. They're cheaper than unicorn bags, but they're not cheap. They're expensive. They're probably maybe 60 to 75 cents a piece. They're not cheap.
Okay, yes, yeah, because you got to
Yeah,
like cheap is relative. I live in Asia where
they're
plastic
not
is
they're,
cheap.
they're cheaper than unicorn bags being like $1 on a piece, but they're not.
Okay, but they're still
No,
above
they're not.
50 cents a bag.
That's why I use mason jars because these are basically free. But
Yeah.
but I do use
So it's
them. I put two together last night just because I wanted to. I had a lot of spawn for a couple cultures. I had 3 pints of Casper, and I don't usually use 3 pints of anything. And for some reason, I had three of them colonized perfectly all at the same time. So I put two of them in a bag with a bunch of core and made actually two different bags of that stuff. But
I watched the Booming Acres video yesterday, and he made a pretty compelling argument for bags actually being more environmentally friendly than jars. But he was talking about jars that you like buying new jars.
yeah,
So like if you went to the store, bought new jars, talked about how much energy it takes to make the glass, recycling, transporting, and on and on and on. And he actually made a very, very kind of logical, quite convincing argument for if you were starting from zero, no material, if you looked at the ecological and economic and fuel costs and all this of jars versus bags, that bags are actually probably more environmentally friendly.
I agree with that completely. I also have one other side thing I do is I get all my jars basically free. I mean, I've bought maybe 2 cases of jars in my life. Most of them I get at the dump at the recycling center. We have
Oh
a big,
yeah. Oh,
I,
every parent over the age of 50 probably have 6 dozen mason
exactly.
jars in their basement.
I mean, just this week I grabbed, I think it was maybe 16 mixtures of pints, half pints, quarts. I probably have,
Oh yeah.
I have 2 or 3 boxes of pints and quarts that I just got from the dump 2, 3 weeks ago that I just have in the corner. And what I do is I use them, and then after I'm done with them, I put them aside, and then after maybe twice or once through about half of them, I start washing them and reusing them. The main thing I have to do is rewash the lids because I have the syringe filters on some of them. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the lids they get rusty. So here, see, I've got online here. I've got my bags are here 10. They're about 40 cents a piece. The single patch ones. So even here, it's funny they got them listed online and they've got a Lexinum like a bolete. You can't boletes you can't grow in bags, but
yeah,
it's funny.
wouldn't they go that whatever? But yeah,
So
I don't
they've
know.
got them.
I could find it. Actually. I think it's something like
Yeah, they're like so they're about yeah, even here they're like 40 cents a piece. Just not cheap. Yeah, when you're doing the thing is I got like 24 shoe boxes in my tent now. So if every one of those shoe boxes started from a grain spawn bag, that means I would have like $50 worth of bags in my tent right now, you know? Like no, like $12. I'm going the other way. So that would be just for my spawn bags. Like I couldn't if I didn't have access to these cheap polypropylene 5 bags, I would use jars for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, I've looked into trying to find cheap bags, but you don't find them where I'm at. They're always going to be pretty much expensive.
It's funny. I was thinking they would go down. They're not going to go down in price because everybody's going to keep growing mushrooms and there's no reason for them. People are going to keep buying them at the price they were You know, and you in 19 or 2019, they were buying them then. They're gonna keep buying them.
Yep.
Price just gonna go up and up and up.
Yep. Yeah, but yeah, I use I'm gentle with my jars, and actually popcorn is really nice inside the jars. It breaks up no matter how thick it gets. It breaks up without too much pressure, or hitting strength. But okay, anybody listening that's using jars, if you wash your own jars, before you wash your jars, check the rims very, very carefully. Do not stick your hand in with your fingers and this part of your thumb right here on the outside of a jar. Like, say you take your jar, don't stick your hand in a jar like this and start cleaning it, like that. Because if there's any chips on this rim, you're gonna slice your hand open so bad. Then they're done that. And always check your jars for cracks, for damage. If you drop a jar, set it aside.
Exactly. That's why I stopped using those glass petri dishes, man. I almost like slit my wrist all the way up here one day, and I was like, "Ooh, I think I'm done with the glass."
Well, luckily, I have a family that's been experienced with shoving their hands inside water glasses when they wash dishes. My mother did it when she was young. She stuck her hand inside of a glass to wash it, and it broke and sliced her wide open. So I was always taught to check on, glass. And I've still made mistakes, but, I'm a lot more careful than a lot of people realize they should be, because I know they're nice lids and everything on them, but you don't know what happened between where they were made and where they got to the house. Even if they're brand new, they could still have chips on them. And even if it's not a sharp edge, a little chip could still have razor, and you could still not notice it. So,
yeah, these are my mason jars. These are the adhesion equivalent. These things I probably break. I put like that much in the freezer, and I make ice, and then sometimes it breaks, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I've got tons of them.
Put them on a little bit of an better. Like if you put them on an angle in the freezer, the water won't expand to the sides as much. It'll expand out more. Just a thought. Like how it expands when it freezes.
They also roll over, and the water spills in the freezer if you're not careful.
Yeah, I have.
I just take my chances. If they break, they break. I got like 100 more of them. So I went crazy for a while. I thought I was gonna sell LC, and then I realized it's such a pain in the fucking ass to pull syringes. After you pull like 100 syringes in a day, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to do this."
Yeah, I only pull syringes for friends and small people that want something, specific.
Small batches, it's okay. 10 or 20, it's fine. But these dudes who sell like massive quantities of LC, like I don't want to pull 500 syringes a day. No fucking way. That's not a way to live. I'd rather work at McDonald's.
Like you, I have the issue with I want to make sure somebody gets something. So like I showed at the beginning of this episode, I made spawn or LC syringes for somebody, and each LC syringe I made for that person, I tested on agar first, because I won't send him something that I don't know is clean. I don't know if that makes sense. I have this problem. Like if I pulled 10 of them, I'd end up with 10 test plates. Some reason I have to test every single one, wait for it to grow, then I'll ship them both, this test plate and this syringe. I don't care. But I make these nice little.
Yeah, that's good. I do the same thing. I've never shipped anything that I didn't test ever from that batch. That's kind of the reason I don't sell LC. Because it's too tedious. I can't keep track of every batch and testing every batch and the plate that was with that batch, and I'll do 2 or 3 at a time. But these dudes, some of these guys that got like 400 cultures listed and they're all in LC, it's like I don't see how your quality control can be that high unless you've got like 10 well qualified people helping you.
Yeah, quality control for me. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know, but whatever, man. That's if you're buying $8 LC syringes, I guess you gotta accept some lower standards.
Question: I don't have any PP5 bags. Thoughts on using a jar to sterilize, then putting into a Ziploc bag. I've done it. I've had mixed results. I don't think Ziplocs are 100% sterile, even though they are very clean. New, they're not sterile, so you could have issues. I've had some Ziploc bags go just fine, mixed with substrate or spawn and substrate in a Ziploc bag. I've done that. I got a couple right behind me growing in Ziploc bags, and I just cut the top off and put them in a shoebox as my liner, basically. But not not going to really fruit it with it like sealed. You'll have to open it anyways. So at that point, you're just using a plastic bag. So it's not going to. I've done it. I do it.
Yeah.
It's no problem. Like I did it with rice. I cooked a bunch of rice, brown rice, and it overhydrated. So what happened is it was a big hard chunk in the jars. So I sterilely in front of my flow hood, I poured them out into Ziploc bags and sealed them and broke them up. Maybe 50% lived or survived. I did lose about half of them because they were just too moist and they just went bad. So there's somebody on here. I don't think it's kitchen mycology. There's a guy that has the tech with Ziploc bags, where he basically takes Uncle Ben's bags and pours them into Ziploc bags. Which, okay.
Oh yeah, I know the guy you mean. I can't remember his name either.
Calm voice. He's very, very, very chill.
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean, but I can't. Sometimes he's sitting on his couch, like talking.
Yeah, nice sounding person. I have no great guy as far as I know. I don't know him, but he does that. He takes Uncle Ben's rice and pours it into a Ziploc bag, which kind of I see no. I mean, yes, you can do that. It's up to you, Mofo. Try it. See what happens. I mean,
you can do it in a garbage bag. I've done it. I just literally one of the easiest things you can do is just take a bunch of chopped up straw and then boil it and then take it out and throw it in a garbage bag and put a couple jars of spawn in it. I used to grow oyster mushrooms like that. Because straw is a bitch to deal with. So if you don't want to cut it into little 2-inch pieces, all you do is like soak it and boil it and then just grab all of the shit by handful and start throwing it in a garbage bag and then lace it with like 2 quarts of spawn and you'll get fuckloads of oyster mushrooms.
yeah.
That's what they do here with the paddy straw mushrooms, like the rice straw. That is literally like they'll put like a pail of straw and either let it sit out in the rain and sun till it kind of gets like pasteurized and then they just lace it with like this paddy straw spawn, or they'll just put it into sort of like a wooden box and just pour a bunch of boiling water over it. There's like a lot of different ways to grow mushrooms.
But if you're not, guys, if you're asking questions because you want to grow 500 bags or 500 tons of mushrooms a month, this isn't kind of the way to do it. There's definite ways to do that. There's farmers that actually grow mushrooms. This is fun with cubes and stuff, guys. This isn't. I'm not into commercial stuff. I just grow 5 or 6 different things at a time and have fun doing it. But yeah, you can do anything. Try it. I mean, if it doesn't cost any money to throw some spawn in the Ziploc bag, yes, it costs a little bit, but buy a couple gallons of freaking corn and have at it. Experiment. Just keep everything separate so you don't contaminate everything with something that doesn't work. That's my thoughts. Just have fun. If you want something that works guaranteed every time, well, then follow some procedures that we're more than willing to share. We all pretty much got, here's the basic idea. You get some grain, you inoculate it, you get some cocoa core, and you put it in there and you let it sit. It's not complicated. We make it really, really complicated, and there's not that much to grow in. I mean, there isn't. I don't know if that makes sense. Gotta keep it simple. Okay, let's see.
You can just make your life easier is the idea with most of these things. A lot of times people try to make things very complicated. Like they think they're trying to simplify things, but they're actually making it more complicated.
Well, it's like these little syringe filters I put in these jars. You know what? That was great, but you know what? I get these little stickers or a little piece of tape, and it does the same thing. I like the stickers, hydrophobic, but these, I don't know if I'm getting them clean inside. If I get a contaminated jar, do I have to throw this out, or can I clean inside of it?
Yeah.
A little piece of tape, I can take it off and throw it away. But I found these lids, actually. These are nice. These I don't even modify some of them. I just leave them like that, and I just leave them a little bit loose.
Or put less spawn and less grain in there is the other.
Pretty full. I usually go a lot lower than this. They're usually about, I don't know, maybe this like down another inch. This is pretty full.
I noticed that even with my bags, if I put less spawn in a bag, it colonizes so much better because there's more oxygen in there.
Yeah. And the only problem with unmodified lids is when you don't modify them, you really shouldn't open them without being in front of a flow hood because they are going to get a vacuum. And when you open them, they're going to go, they're going to suck in air. So you got to be careful. If you don't modify, I get 50 of these lids for, I think, $9 on Amazon. And they're one piece, so you don't have to worry about rings and all that. They're nice. Stainless steel. They don't rust. So much easier than dealing with 2-piece lids.
Yeah. It's like a pain in the ass. Yeah, that's my lids also. Also, mine, I can get plastic lids for these size jars.
Yep.
They're like polypropylene 5, and they work really, really nice. They don't rust or anything.
The only problem I had with those, they missed the ones I had, and I'm not saying all of them. Some of them, the ball lids, I couldn't get a flat surface to put a ship on when I was doing that, and because of all the writing on it. And then they deform over a couple pressure cooker cycles. That's just because I do a lot of, like, I do pints and half pints, so I do them over and over. So what most people would use a quart and have plenty of spawn, I make 3 pints, so I tend to use a lot more often. Ed, do you have a link for your bags, or do you buy them local? I believe you said he buys them local.
Yeah, it would be pointless for me to send you a link. I live in Thailand, so you'll have to find them in your country.
Kitchen Mycology, yes, that's the guy's name. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those bags are ubiquitous here in Asia, but I don't know why they don't sell them in. I've looked for links on Amazon and stuff. Some people find them. I reckon if they do find a supplier, they're gonna probably try to resell them.
Well, the only place I found online that sells PP5 bags, whether you buy it in a roll and then seal your own, is a company called Uline, Uline. They're the only place that has a lot of polypropylene in the U.S., and it's expensive. It's not cheap. But I was thinking I should buy a roll of like 6 or 8 inch wide polypropylene, just seal my ends, or and then make my own bags if I don't need filter patches. I was going to put polyfill or something at the end, or put some tape or something. But I hated trying to make one bags. Just the cost is ridiculous, I think.
Yeah, they're getting to the 75 cents point. That's like, yeah. Well, it's like everything. You got to buy it by if you buy a carton, like a shipping container, they'll be cheap as hell, right? You probably get them for 5 cents a piece.
Oh yeah.
So that's what
I think that got him doing. Is he okay?
Yeah, I haven't heard from him for probably a month. Like anything.
Hope he's okay. Well, if you got him, so I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, Uline is expensive. Stealthy Spores, thanks for stopping by. I got his name up here on the bottom here, guys, about the ticker going across. There's a reason. There's a new card coming out. It's a MycoAlan card. That's kind of fun. Thank you very much, Stealthy. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, while we're on that topic, dude, you know that where it says live with StreamYard at the top, you can get rid of that. If you go into
supply, I had to buy a subscription.
It's either one of the brand. No, there's one. I don't have it either, but it'll have the duck there, but it won't have the big thing that says live with StreamYard.
Oh, I'll have to look into
it. There's like, even on the free one, you can just have the duck. You can't get rid of the duck. But I think there's 2 options there, and one of the options will just be the duck in the branding or something like that. Yeah, we just figured. Somebody mentioned the ticker thing the other day, or I asked somebody about it. I don't remember, but yeah, you can put the little ticker. Or somebody gave me the idea that I should put my new things that I've just harvested up there, which is fun. I don't know why I never thought of that. And also the topic for the day. I forgot who that was. Oh, I got kicked off IG again, 3rd time in like a month. I don't know why. I think I posted like a picture of something I made on Canva. Just said my name. I don't think I had any photos of any mushrooms or anything. I don't know. They never tell you what they kicked you off for. But yeah, so I'm kicked off of IG again, the 3rd time in the last month. I don't know why.
Yeah, see the thing where it says overlay? Oh, I think I got rid of it.
Yep, there you go.
Oh, yep. Thank you. There, okay. Oh, now I can see how long you've been live.
Yeah, I remember I saw that on you like a month or 2 ago, and I meant to mention it, but I forgot to mention it. I thought you just liked it or something. I thought maybe you liked it.
No, I just didn't even. I hated it, actually. I was trying to change the picture earlier today, and I couldn't, because I don't know if you see here the picture I have when my camera goes out for that. So I have that now, and then I have the ticker going across the bottom, because I wanted to be able to put stuff on there and keep, But cool. Thank you.
See, I don't know how to do that. What you just did with your picture icon, I don't know how to do that.
On the stop cam. I don't know, the stop cam where you can turn your camera view off.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a little pull down menu or something, right?
If you click on the little, your picture.
Oh, audio avatar. Okay, yeah, I got it.
There's 3 dots next to the little microphone, and you go to the thing that says edit audio avatar or something like that.
Yep.
It'll give you
I see it.
But yeah, that was kind of. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was getting really sick of that freaking duck. He was coming up after my freaking picture. Now you got one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought here, and I didn't know you can edit your name while you're in here too.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. But anyways, Stealthy Spores. He did a MycoAlan cultivator card, and I have a picture of it, guys, but I haven't put it up yet. I wanted to announce it today. So check out Stealthy Spores. They're going to be coming out with new decks. I don't know exactly when. I didn't get a chance to ask Stealthy about that. But apparently I got a card coming in a new deck. I wore this shirt today because of it, because it's got the same logo on it. The MycoAlan logo. Anyways, check it out. I'm going to have it posted up on IG later, the picture. So I have a story about my little my start of my college or mushroom growing in Hawaii and stuff like that. So check it out. And again, thank you, Stealthy, for considering me. I really appreciate it. Am I gone, Ed?
No. You're still there.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, no problem.
I think I sat on the... Okay, anyways, check out Stealthy Spores, guys. The new deck's coming out soon. I don't know when. You have to ask him, or if he wants to post it, feel free. It's stealthyspores.com. It's listed in the ticker there at the bottom over there. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here, guys? There we go. Mike Naples. Good afternoon, gentlemen. What are the advantages, disadvantages of What are the advantages / disadvantages of composted versus regular manure for subs? Sorry. Thanks. I don't use manure, so composted manure has a lot more stuff in it than regular manure. I don't know. Do you know anything about composted manure, Ed?
I'm trying to find that question. Can you put the question up on the screen? I don't see the question. Okay. What are the advantages, disadvantages of compost? I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I'm not gonna play with manure and shit anyway, so I don't know. I've never looked into it. Like every substrate has its advantage and disadvantages. I don't know. You could probably list. I mean, I could probably list 10 advantages and 10 disadvantages, but I think it's very individual.
I don't use.
If there was a single best substrate for one type of mushroom, like everybody would probably use it. I think it depends. Like maybe you don't have access to manure. Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything.
Now, if you're going, you probably need something like manure or straw or something. So there's an advantage to it there. But
yeah, like composted manure, you're probably gonna put in other stuff, right?
Yeah, I use composted manure. I use composted horse manure in my garden. My pot plants grew great. I mean, I didn't put any nutrients in all year. They're freaking 12 feet tall and huge yield. So I think compost has its uses, but I haven't seen any uses in mycology or growing mushrooms for me. But that's just doing cubes and stuff. I don't do much other stuff. A little bit of hericium. No, that's about it for me.
Yeah, I think everybody's just got
cards will be out. Yeah, I mean CBG or Cocoa Core and vermiculite is pretty much the standard now. So if there's companies that make it with manure like Dino Farms. They make a manure-based substrate.
Turtle poop.
Yeah, the turtle poop, the dino poop. It's not a lot though. It's just it's a supplement, maybe 10% or something from what I've heard. And people love it. I mean, and then there's other people that use black cow in their substrate, the black cow manure. Not black cows, but that's the name brand, black cow. They might use black cow's manure. They might use white cow's manure. I don't know. But yeah, I don't see a difference from what I've seen people grow in manure versus from what I've seen people grow out of manure. I think everybody uses core because it works really well and it's pretty clean, honestly. I mean, it's inert, basically.
Yeah.
You don't have to do much.
If you're really interested in like developing the best substrate, it probably means you're growing in bulk and like you should probably do it with really, really cheap, locally available ingredients.
Yeah, grow
I
one
don't
more
know.
to find something that gives you 1% more.
Yeah, that's the part I don't quite understand. I think people are obsessed with like it, you know, really it's I have really not noticed much of a difference. The substrate doesn't really affect. I think it's mostly about like the amount of spawn you have there and the amount of water in the substrate that's available. I think people get a little bit confused. Remember, we're not growing plants, we're growing mushrooms. Those mushrooms should be in and out of that substrate within 4 weeks, maybe 6 if you're going for a second flush. But it's not like a plant. Like your pot plants, how long did they grow? 4 months?
Oh yeah, they've been
Like,
growing May, June.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's not the same as a mushroom, right? A mushroom, like I'm mixing my sub and my spawn, and it's in the garbage within a month.
Yep.
It's not the same thing. The substrate is just basically a moisture reservoir. Now, if you were growing 10-pound shiitake blocks that were going to colonize for a month and a half and then sit there for another month before they popcorn and then sit there for another month while they fruited, like I don't really know the timeline of shiitake production, but it's like a 3-month process. Now that you give the mycelium time to incorporate those nutrients that you provided in that block into its mycelium and produce fruit with it, our cubes, we're not really, I mean, I don't think we're really that interested in like.
If you're growing in bulk, you want to try to keep costs down. So adding a bunch of exotic stuff is not. That's like this theory of his some
Exactly.
2% strong, or not 1 or 2, but 0.2% stronger cube versus another. Why not just eat another 0.1 gram? I mean, unless it's giving you a completely different experience, that's kind
Oh, so see, I totally forget that. So people aren't really talking about yields. They just want stronger mushrooms.
of, yeah,
Is that where, is that all
probably
that where that comes from?
I would. That's
Okay, see, I totally don't even think that way. Like I forget that every one of these questions is about how do I get stronger mushrooms so I can get more fucked up.
yeah.
I always forget that.
I've come to the conclusion I can get fucked up off too. I've been taking mushrooms since I was a child, but I stopped for 40 years. I didn't, not child, teenager. Then the past year and a half, I'm only up to starting to take maybe 2 grams as a normal dose. That's fine. I mean, I've taken 3.5, 4 grams, but I don't try huge doses. I want to save those for when I, want to have more. If you're taking 5 grams just as a daily or weekly enjoyment, you got to do something different with your diet setting and all that stuff. Make sure you're, enjoying yourself. You don't need to grow stronger mushrooms. In my mind, I mean, do what you want, but I don't see how 2% or 2.2% strength is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I strangely enough have gotten like the more and more I learn about like substances, the more I get less tolerant of these people who just like are doing these things just to get fucked up. Like it's kind of weird. It reminds me of like kids in high school. Like we were talking about earlier, that lack of development of the prefrontal cortex. It's like these guys are like, on Monday morning, it's like, oh man, how many beers did you drink on Friday? It's like, I don't know. Anybody over the age of 30 who asks you that fucking question, like, is probably got some serious issues in their life. Like, it's same with me and mushrooms. It's like when somebody asks you, like, oh, how much do you normally eat? I just immediately think, wow, are you 15? How
Yeah,
old are you? Like,
but
this is not, again, it's not a pissing contest it's like because you eat more mushrooms doesn't make you cooler than me.
I don't eat much.
Like, I don't understand
I,
it.
I do have, I laugh and I love and I have fun when I'm taking them. Yes, but I don't specifically to see how fucked up I can get. And if I want to do another universe, I'll take some Dimitri or something. I don't need to. That's a totally different. There's times and places for everything, but mushrooms are just they're not a pissing contest. Just enjoy them. Any more
Yeah,
questions?
but at the end of the day, though, most of life is a pissing contest, right? It's like
Oh yeah. Oh,
It's like people's cars and how much money they got, and like, I don't know how pretty their wife is, and all this, like, on and on and on.
I used to love having nice fancy cars. I love it. Putting a big stereo system, loud banging music. So everybody look at me. Hey, look at me, look at me. And then I got to the point where I didn't want anybody to look at me because I didn't want the cops to see me. And then I was like, okay, when you're young, you do silly things, and it's not like it's not fun, but it's just as you get older, you realize that it doesn't need to be. I'm not saying older as in like old man. You could be 25 years old and realize that it's time to just enjoy what you have and not try to brag. For me, but I drive a little minivan around. And I don't even have kids. Neither does anybody in my family. But it's great for hauling stuff around.
I get a kick out of like young guys that try to flex on me now. It's like, you're so like, it's fucking hilarious to me. It's like, dude, you have no fucking clue. You're like,
Yeah, I've been through things that
oh.
them and they want to flex about it. It's like, no thanks, I'm good. Some of my worst conditions, I was completely sober, but I was in a bad position. But it wasn't a flex.
Yeah,
that's a different.
the way you buy more stuff when they create a society that, like, where everybody judges other people on how much material goods you have. Like, it's good for the companies. You buy more stuff
Well, it was like earlier when
because
I
you
was
want to get. It's like they train you from when you're young to, like, you should be better than these other people so that you're happy and you get more pussy.
It's the only way.
And that's the way that they've, like, trained us. That's the classic marketing technique. How do I sell stuff to 15 to 30-year-old boys? I correlate this with the amount of pussy they will get. So if you buy my product, you will get more pussy, and that's what you want because, well, even that shit's overrated.
Yeah. When I move out from home, whenever I was looking at homes, and I'm like, these things are outrageous. There's people spending hundreds of $1,000s on a house. I'm looking at these like, not utility, but work site trailers you can buy. You can get them at like a quarter of the price of a trailer home, and you just do your own thing. I was thinking, oh, that'd be nice. That's a 2-bedroom. I could put my grow room there, my inoculation room there. I could still have a living room, and I could put a Murphy bed for me because I don't need a bedroom. I'll just sleep in the living room. I don't need anything big anymore. My mushrooms need rooms. Thinking about my house, I'm like, okay, that's going to be the grow room. That's going to be this. So I'm designing all these things based around the grow room. I have a kitchen and I have the rest of the house. So I have like a third of it is for living. The rest is all for mushrooms, growing pot or growing whatever. It's all going to be hobbies. It's not going to be, showing off my big screen TV or this or my car in the driveway. I want to get as little, cute little rooms as I can make. I'm looking at like I think 14 by 40 foot long trailer. I figured out how to make a huge growing room and all this stuff all fit in there nicely.
Yes, that's exactly why I live where I do now. Everything I need to live is literally like the 6 feet behind me. The other 80% of this house is for mushrooms.
It's like, yeah, that's my basement is and I mean, this is, only my house, so I can't do what I want. But if I live in the main part of the house by myself, there's 2 bedrooms and then a living area. I would live in the living area, and the 2 bedrooms would be lab work and growing rooms. But yeah, that would be my ideal thing. Oh, well,
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. I think, yeah.
I was watching. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a pretty cheap hobby once you get the stuff the basic, the things that you need. Like, you don't really need to buy a lot of new stuff, right? Once you get the necessities, it's like
I'm down to like maybe 10% of what I thought I needed over the past year and a half. I just need petri dishes, CVG, and corn in jars. After that, just maybe some syringes and stuff, some little stuff. But once you get down to it, you can do it really efficiently. And my new thing is everything I haven't looked at in 8 months, I get rid of. So basically either donate it or trash it. If it's because when I did all my different moves to different tents and stuff like that, I would pack everything up in boxes. And I haven't bought anything new, but it's just so much stuff I haven't used, and I haven't touched it since I put it in the packing. And since I packed it up, I haven't looked at it. So do I really need it, or should I just get rid of it to make more space? So it's never in.
Like the week after you get rid of it, you'll be like, "Oh shit, I need that now."
Well, like either get rid of something or buy something. I'm either find it. I'm gonna find it for free if I buy it. was like my second grow, or my first grow tent was like a outdoor shower tent, like a regular tent, but all, and I put my little grow hood or flow hood in there and everything, and that was my thing. The day after I set it up and got it from Amazon, I think I paid like $30 for it. It was cheap. Well, the day after, I found one at the dump, brand new, just in a box. So I was like, why do I buy things anymore? My first 3 pressure cookers I found at the dump, or at the recycling center, whatever you want to call it. So there were 8 quart, 6 quart. Found them at the dump. Went almost a year before I bought a 21 quart. Well, we don't have any more questions on the list here, Ed. So you want to call it a day, or we got a couple of?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm getting a bit hungry. It's been a little while since I ate.
My blood sugar is probably going to be a little low.
Yeah, same here. There's a certain point at which I can feel my brain starting to sort of like shutting down.
I'm kind of only do a couple hours at a time. I got to stretch and do. I got to walk the dog too. So he hasn't had his lunch yet either. So what I'll do is I'll again thank you, Ed. I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to stay on for another minute or two and say goodbye to a few people. But
sounds good.
I'll talk to you again soon, and thank you very much.
Okay, man. Thanks for having me on.
Bye, Ed. Okay, guys, thank you all for showing up today. So again, Stealthy Spores, I really, really appreciate what you did with the card for me there. It looked absolutely amazing. By the way, I don't know if I told you this, but the picture I sent Stealthy guys, I sent them a black and white picture, just like this shirt of my dog and MycoAlan Mycology. It's a little bit different. I thought this was the same one. It's a little different. It's the one with the DNA. But anyways, he took that picture and he added color to it somehow, and it looks just like my dog Buddy. It is beautiful. Stealthy, that you don't even know. The first thing I did is I took another picture of my dog so I could show people side by side what you did. Amazing. I don't know if you used AI. I don't know what you did, but it came out absolutely perfect. The coloring, everything is beautiful. I'll send you a picture of the dog with his toy that I showed people. I took yesterday morning after I saw the picture you did. Absolutely beautiful. I'll have the card posted up to show you guys on Instagram. And thanks guys for showing up. I don't know if you got any more questions, feel free to email me. Let me my email's on the screen right there. Let me put up I thought I had something. Here. There you go. Read the ticker. That has my email as well. If you have any questions or inquiries on anything, let me know. I do have some really nice hash available. I'm making bubble hash and I'm making it into temple balls. So I have that available if anybody's interested. I also do have mycology stuff for research purposes. So if you need any research material, let me know. Everything goes back into the hobby. It does not go into buying fancy things. It goes right back into supplies and shipping, mostly shipping and stuff. But yeah, anyone wants to donate, they can feel free to do so. I am more than happy to take donations. Any donations will get free gifts back. You're not just donating and giving. If you feel like donating, I will definitely make sure you get something in return. Again, I do have hash available that I am selling because it's legal. I have that by the gram or by the eighth or whatever you want. The beautiful temple balls. I got some. There's some that are nice, and there's 2 different ones. One's from Bubble Hash and one's from Keith. They both came out beautiful. From what I've been being told, it tastes wonderful. And the strength is right up there with some of the best. For the flour that I used, is someone was comparing it to some 35% stuff he had. So I don't know. I haven't had it tested, but so I'm hearing it's really good. Hit me up if you want anything. I'm on IG at MycoAlan. I'm on YouTube at MycoAlan. And my email is MycoAlanMycology@gmail.com. Have a great day, guys. Stealthy, thanks for coming. Mike Baraball, Chris, thanks for coming. Nerdy, 5280. Jambo, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Bubblegum, nice to see you. Mushroom Farmers Guild, thanks for coming. Honestly, Mushroom Farmers Guild, nothing was ever insinuated. I'm not even paying attention to whatever you're talking about. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Mike Naples, thanks for coming. Everybody else, thanks, guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow or Tuesday on T for you guys that know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, much love.